Okay, we are live. Hello. Yes, just a little bit late. Had to fix some audio issues, but today we have a great episode. We got on camera estimate of the situation, Tom, and on our panel today we got Alien Girl, formerly known as Alien Girl, now goes by Good Morning UFO on YouTube. There's a daily UFO news show. I'm really excited. Estimate of the situation here. We're going to be going through a lot of the stuff he's been working on. He's been making comic books, and what's really exciting too is lately he's been delving into live action. I will go out on a limb and say the most underappreciated content creator in the entire UFO thing, right? I mean, like it's kind of like a, you know what I mean? But it is that, and I'll be getting on camera soon here. I just gotta get some cables and a bunch of crap. But thank you, Tom, for being on camera. And are you excited? How's it going? Tell us about yourself and Alien Girl too. Sorry, I'm like all over the place right now, but yes.
Yeah, same. I'm like texting this to my friends. So my name's Tom. I'm part of the operation that runs the estimated situation. So for those of you that don't know, we're a graphic novel that deals with the early UFO programs, specifically Project Sign, and we're completely independent, meaning that most of our funds have come from the community and ourselves, and we are, excited to be here and just represent the brand or whatever it is at this point. I mean, it's been a while.
Yes.
And Good Morning UFO, tell us a little about yourself, and then we're going to dive all into this estimate of the situation stuff. A lot of good history tonight, a lot of good content for us to react to and have a great old time, so it'll be fun.
Yes, thank you, Red, so much for inviting me to this amazing show. Tom, so good to see you. Last time I saw you were on my show. So amazing. He's one of the few who wakes up at the crack of whenever and actually was like, I'll do it. So he gets all the credit in the world. That is my show. It's super early in the morning. And I'm a UFO advocate. So that's why I'm here, and I can't wait to talk more and hear more about Tom and all the things that he's been working on, because I've been seeing all the video clips on Twitter. It's very cool. Exciting stuff.
Thank you.
Right, to see it develop over time, right? Because I think we both known Tom for a few years now, and right, when we first met him, doing the comic books, sick, amazing art, and we're gonna go through some of those today too. Oh, this is fun. This is actually really fun and cool. It's the first time ever on this channel. We are going to be giving away one copy of Estimate of the Situation. Maybe we'll let the person pick which one they want, Tom. But here's the criteria. So whoever has the most liked comment on this video in a week, right? Is that good? Like, what amount of days do you guys think I should do for this?
A week? Yeah. Oh man, you're opening yourself up to it's a very interesting place.
Oh yeah, all my haters are gonna love this one, huh? So yes, I will type this out in the live chat right now too. Let's see, most liked comment after a week gets a free copy of Estimate of the Situation comic book. Yeah, I was like, screw it. It felt right. I really am excited for Tom. Like I said, I feel like he's super underrated, and he needs to be everywhere, to be honest. He's one of the people doing actually good work in the field. Does a good job, staying kind of, I like everyone, the topics I like to talk about. I feel like you approach those well. There's a lot of ways content creators can approach the like control narratives thing. And I think you approach it well. Hopefully after this, we get you on like Jesse Michaels and stuff like that. You know what I mean? I'm going to send this to Jesse Michaels right after.
Dude, I don't think I'm smart enough for Jesse Michaels. That guy.
Dude, you'd be the perfect Jesse Michaels guest. Oh, we have another late stage panelist, non-credible UFO or UAP reports. How's it going, friend?
Hey, it's non-credible UAP Mike reports.
Oh, shoot,
At least on YouTube. No, but I just left the joke in there from last time I was on StreamYard. Hey, what's up? I'm here to support my boy. I'm gonna soft dog him. Tom. I know he hates it, but Estimate of the Situation, the mean face. Doxxed. Oh God, I know. I should have never watched you on Alien Girl.
Is his audio poppy for anyone else?
Sorry,
I'm all traumatized. Last time people were like, the audio is all horrible. Live audio is hard. Audio mixing is not fun.
How does this sound? Does this sound all right?
Yeah, So, all right, we're going to continue here, guys. We got one super chat real quick from Stoned Ape. Let's shout her out before we get into this presentation here. Stoned Ape says, the
Oh
estimate
my
of the
God,
situation,
Tiffany.
Tom. Oh, wow. Okay. There you go.
That's gonna be the number one right there.
It's going to be the number one like comment. And again, we're doing a free giveaway after the show, but let's get into it.
Yeah.
Here's
Can
a
I shout out somebody, by the way,
Yeah,
at the
yeah,
on
go
the
for it.
chat?
Shout out.
So I know Susan's there. Susan's like my second mom. I'm actually like a little nervous that she's that she's here. And also I know Max is watching, and Max has definitely supported this whole thing since day one. He actually deals with me coming to work and working on this while I'm at work. So I don't know anybody else who would put up with that shit for 3 years, but I am eternally grateful.
Damn, that's really cool. Shouts out Max. I'm trying to find his thing, but I think he might not have left a comment. But let's get into it. So I have a bunch of stuff here. There's so much stuff to cover. You've done 3 issues so far, but before we kind of went into the comic book stuff, I wanted to do some of your live action, like historical stuff that I think is pretty cool. That's like not really related to this, but just still kind of, I think the audience might like it and kind of get us soft in. So we got this first, right? I thought this was cool.
Oh yeah.
So there was a protest in New York City back in February or March, Tom?
Yeah, it was March. It was really cold, I remember.
Yeah.
Like freezing.
And so for the audience, you're kind of pretty open about this. This isn't really a dox, right? Like you're in New York City. You're a filmmaker, right? In New York City before like any UFO stuff, right?
Yeah, I mean, I was always into UFOs, but like it was only recently that like I was like, okay, all the UFO content kind of sucks. So like, can I do any better? Because it's like you guys know, like I get pretty triggered, sometimes, and I get really angry, and I was just like, fuck it, I'll just do it myself, right? And so
very, very cool. And
Sort of an F it, we'll do it live moment in your life.
basically, yeah. By the way, Ocean, I love the comment. Don't mention MH370. I've softened my stance, but I still I disavow.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's play this real quick. So this is from the protest. Estimate's done some kind of cool like IRL New York, just asking people about UFO stuff. And I feel like you and me were kind of both like really into the UFO history side of this. And I'm sure like you and me, we love watching those clips of like random people on the street in 1960 asked about flying saucers, right? And I feel like these are just kind of those in the modern era. And I feel like in 50 years or so, these kind of conversations will be watched really like with fun. So let's see. Can we hear this?
Hell yeah, man. Thank you.
I'm Jim Garrison. I am the director of the Washington, D.C. office of the New Paradigm Institute that is sponsoring this rally today outside of Senator Schumer's office in downtown Manhattan as a way of saying thank you to the senator for his leadership in getting past the Unidentified Anomalous Phenomena Records Collection Act as part of the National Defense Authorization Act of 2024, which for the first time in human history stated that the U.S. government has evidence concerning technologies of unknown origin, non-human technologies, and non-human intelligences, and that all government agencies and contracting corporations are mandated by law to turn over all the information that they've accumulated concerning UFOs since the end of the Second World War to the National Archives of the Library of Congress. It's an extraordinary moment because the U.S. government is now on record stating that we are not alone, that extraterrestrials exist. They've been on planet Earth for some time. There's evidence, hard evidence, of sustained contact.
So let's pause there. Estimate, who is this guy? And I might just go to the next one after this because we do have a lot to get through. But who is this guy? He's kind of a prominent figure, right? And kind of describe the vibe of the protest that day, because it was all in support of the National Defense Authorization Act, the UAPDA legislation, right?
Yeah. And I heard it was happening in New York, and I was like, oh shit, like I want to go down there and just like document some of it. And I brought my friend over. I taught him how to use a sound in the car, and just like showed up. And it wasn't like the biggest protest or the biggest like demonstration, but I think the vibe there was that people were generally very supportive of what was going on. They wanted to see a change, and this guy in particular, I believe, is Jim Garrison, who works with Daniel Sheehan at the New Paradigm Institute. So I didn't really know who anybody was at the time. I was just asking for an interview and like, hey, like, why are you here? What are you doing? Just to get something on camera, because like you said, like, hopefully 30 years from now, people are going to see something like this and be like, oh, so this is what was going on in the UFO movement at the time. Like, you know, it's almost like a little bit of a time capsule. And granted, it was freezing. So the fact that like as many people did show up, you know, I think is pretty cool. But overall, it was like, you know, it was pretty small, and there were people like walking by, and they would kind of like, you know, some people would like ask questions, or some people kind of like snicker at us, you know. But for the most part, I thought it was pretty cool. Some other people were there that gave really great interviews. I think there was that one guy, the mummy guy, gave like a fantastic interview about like just what disclosure meant to him and his family and something like that, you know. And generally, like, I don't align myself with any, like the New Paradigm Institute, Sheehan, or whatever. Like, I don't align myself with any certain group, you know, like I try to march to the beat of my own drum, but I am very interested in what other people have to say. I think that's like the most interesting thing, is hearing other people's takes on like why disclosure should or shouldn't happen, or where we are in that process. Crickets. Oh, this one's fun.
What up, y'all?
Yo, can you guys hear me?
I can hear you. I thought that was well
Okay,
said,
yeah.
but no one said anything. So I'm like, okay, what's going on?
It's just like spaces, man.
I could turn on my camera, I guess.
Do it. I'm not the only one.
I love what you created. When you got, I mean, it was just when you went out there and you filmed all that and you put it on Twitter, it just made it so much more real. Especially when you see the faces of the people coming to the protests, you know, like you got really good profile shots of them. That it kind of, you know, it's very convincing, and because this is a hard topic for people to be convinced of, very hard. So to have so many, yeah.
And it's also just cool to like, just, I don't know, like find people that are like into it too, you know what I mean? Because it's not like really a topic you get to talk about with other people. It's like, hey, are you into UFOs? You're like, oh shit, this guy's crazy. But here it's like, you know, it's like everybody had something to say. So that was pretty cool.
Oh, yeah, that's awesome. It's rare in real life, like in person, to come across people, but then also to like, you know, be there with a camera and be able to ask anyone in the crowd what their thoughts are on this one thing, and they all have something to say about it, man. That's cool.
Yeah. It was fun. It was just like really cool.
UFOs. What do we know
Oh yeah,
about
this is
them?
fun.
I'll tell you this.
I think my mic was muted. You guys couldn't hear me, but yes, let's watch this one now. Sorry.
All I know is I know nothing.
I ain't gonna lie, aliens built the pyramids. I do construction. You ain't about to tell me a bunch of malnourished people got beaten into them heavy ass blocks.
Yeah. I definitely believe in UFOs.
Personally, I don't.
I mean, depends on the definition of UFOs, right? Unidentified flying objects.
I do know I don't trust my government. Do you trust yours?
That could relate to aliens, that could relate to technology being used by other nations.
They're time travelers.
I don't know. I feel like it's like maybe like when the places there's like less to see, it's like more fun to believe in something like that.
There's like a technology race where like the governments of the world that do have access to this technology are trying to like unlock its secrets.
I also believe.
What this is right here, Tom?
Wouldn't that person be considered crazy? Because they saw a flash of light in the night or a shadow over here, right? You're like, what the hell are you talking about?
They would say that, but
Right?
remember, we all have different experiences. We don't know what's real and what's not.
Very cool, Tom. So yeah, those are the two videos I wanted to pull. And like I said, I apologize, my mic was muted and I was like hella talking. I was like, wait, why is everyone talking over me? But anyways, we do got a lot of stuff to go through, so we're just gonna try and like power through a lot of it. But
by the way, that one was pretty cool because like that was just like in Washington Square Park, and I literally it's so pathetic. I had like a camera and like a tripod, like the camera on the tripod and like a makeshift boom like taped to the tripod, and I was like just like, hey, free comic book for like your opinion on UFOs, and like it looked so janky, but like people came up, and they talked, and it was just really like refreshing to like hear people's thoughts that like, you know, weren't in the UFO Twitter sphere. And surprisingly, like the younger generation, this was NYU, had a lot to say. So it was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's very cool. And like I said, this is one of those things that like you said too, in 50 years it's gonna be super cool to watch. It's cool to watch now. And yeah, that's another thing. You give out so many of these for free. Everyone, please, if you're interested, and once we go through these comic books, if you're interested, please go get one. Tom does a lot of great work. But let's continue along here. Okay, so I did this just to kind of to set the vibes, right? Because your comic books are about Project Sign and Estimate of the Situation, which is the first, right, one of the first UFO investigations by the Air Force, right? So I did include this. This is from one of my videos because I was like, I wanted to get people like a nice little, like, get us into the time period, you know, before we start like diving through your comic book and some of your stuff right there. So Tom, especially you, like, at any point, pause it, or if you want to point out somebody who is on the screen that's part of the project or something, let me know. But this is like, yeah, I think this is like a 4-minute or 5-minute clip from one of my documentaries, but we don't have to watch the whole thing, but we'll see.
Following a wave of UFO reports in 1947, the United States Air Force officially began investigating UFOs with Project Sign. Project Sign's main goal was to determine if the flying saucer phenomena was a threat to national security. Project Sign was given a security classification of restricted, beginning the culture of secrecy with UFOs. Internally, Project Sign was full of people genuinely wanting to solve the saucer mystery. Most of the cases they investigated could be identified, but some were quite anomalous and could not be explained. One example, Coleman Air Force Base, 1948. Multiple witnesses described 2 glowing orbs, 35 meters in diameter, seemingly intelligently controlled. And these glowing fireballs were being seen at high-security military installations all over the country, like the White Sands Missile Range and Oak Ridge. Among the Project Sign staff, there were many factions representing many hypotheses of what the saucers were, ranging from Soviet craft and even to extraterrestrial craft. Although internally,
that's Albert
Project
Diamond
Sign
over there.
So why don't you maybe highlight some of these people? Because some of these people appear in your comic book, right?
Yeah. So the first guy over there is Howard McCoy. So he was like second in command at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base at the time, and he was the guy that the people under him were sending them their reports on the UFO phenomenon. And he was signing off on it. He's pretty cool. He has an interesting history with the bald guy in the bottom middle, which is Albert Diamond. They
guy, right?
actually, they ran ops back in World War II. Basically like trying to get intelligence on whatever the Germans had at the time and the Nazis had at the time, like aircraft and things like that. They would send back over reports to Wright-Patterson, so they'd kind of like try to figure out like, okay, like, well, what are the capabilities? How do we reverse engineer like what they have? So like they both worked intelligence, and they have a very, very long history, and they're kind of like part of the supporting cast of our book. And then we have, I believe that's this, no. Oh, there's Albert Diamond's not here, but the 2 main guys are like the guy in the middle and Howard McCoy in the beginning. There's other people here that are part of Project Sign. I believe that's Malcolm Seashore. That's the 4th one from the top. He's pretty cool because he was delivering information overseas to European attaches. Basically, the information that Project Sign was collecting, they would kind of deliver over to Europe and be like, okay, well, here's what they are. They're discs, they're metallic, they have these sort of capabilities. We need you to get more intelligence on them, and then send it back over to the States. So like this whole thing was like almost like an intricate like spy network. It's pretty freaking cool.
Right, and doesn't it kind of make sense that like, and it's kind of like maybe with Elizondo a bit too, but like, because you said these guys were kind of looking into reverse engineering Nazi tech in post-war Europe, right? So it kind of makes sense why they were tapped, right, to run the UFO investigation program. Like, we're investigating this kind of unknown thing in the air. We're gonna pull from the
Air
same
Material
pool of people.
Command. Yeah, Air Material Command at Wright-Patterson was like the place to like reverse engineer anything. So like it would make sense that like that's where the first UFO program started. They really wanted to figure out what these things were and how they worked, right? Because there was like a Russian threat at the time that they felt like they had to combat or like counter somehow. So the team consisted, like even Howard McCoy and Albert Diamond over there, like they're aeronautical engineers, right? So like these are the guys that you would want taking this apart or like trying to figure out like what the capabilities are.
Yeah, right. A lot of really smart, accomplished people in that first batch, and honestly, throughout the whole thing. But I guess we'll play it a little more. And like I said, if you want to pause at any point, I'd love you to just like that was beautiful. But let's continue.
Staff was exploring all possibilities. This was never revealed to the public, and the Air Force would try to not engage the media about their investigations. If the media persisted, it was common for the Project Sign staff to lie to the press and positively identify unknown cases as balloons, even if there was testimony from credible witnesses. From the beginning, deceit was involved, though at first only if the media persisted. Early on, civilian scientists were consulted to be scientific advisors, like Dr. Lincoln LaPace and Dr. J. Allen Hynek, both famous astronomers. J. Allen Hynek claimed that even during the Project Sign days, the Air Force expected him to debunk cases he was not certain of. But for the most part, during this time, the motto was to not engage media. Some of the science staff were leaning more and more into otherworldly explanations for flying saucers. But top Air Force brass did not like this. There was a showdown between the science staff and the Pentagon about how open to be with the public, and the Pentagon won. A sanitized version of the Project Sign report was released to the public in February of 1949. The report stated, most saucers were misidentifications and hoaxes, but it did include some open-endedness. Quote, no definitive and conclusive evidence is yet available that would prove or disprove the existence of these unidentified objects as real craft of unknown and unconventional configuration. It is unlikely that positive proof of their existence will be obtained without examination of the remains of crashed objects. This open-endedness about potential remains of crashed objects spurred on saucer articles and stories throughout the country. Top Air Force brass did not like the public conclusions of Project Sign and the subsequent media generated. Project Sign was reorganized into Project Grudge, with the hope of alleviating public anxiety over UFOs.
Okay, I'm gonna pause it there. If there's anything you want to say, if not, I got another clip, another historical clip. I'm sure you recognize it, the Bill Coleman one, where he kind of talks about estimate of the situation. But is there anything you wanted to say about that, or honestly, is there anything that you wanted to correct that I maybe got wrong there?
No, it's cool. I have my notes here, but I think like everything there is like pretty good. I have like notes on McCoy and like some of the people in that picture, but I think like if we have a lot to cover, we should just probably keep going.
Okay, cool. Yeah, and so the name estimate of the situation kind of derives from there, and I kind of get into it there, and we'll hear it more in the next one. But I feel like, and would you agree with this, that Project Sign was kind of, it goes Project Sign, and then as I say here, Project Grudge, and then eventually it becomes Project Blue Book in like 1952. And Project Sign was the most kind of open to the extraterrestrial or non-human intelligence explanation, right? And then it seems like after that they kind of clamped down on it, right? Is that a fair assessment of those programs?
100%. And like that wasn't even the conclusion that like they started out with. They honestly thought this was Russian, and like they were trying to figure out like how could they have built something like this. They went so far as to try to look for the Horton brothers over in Europe, and I think they worked with the British over there for on Operation Harass to find the Horton brothers, who developed the flying wing at the time. They thought like maybe there's some correlation over here, but over time they just kind of like, okay, well, it's not that, it's not this, and after you remove basically every other option, they came to the extraterrestrial hypothesis, and they're like, okay, so this is nobody's, right? And then like you said, like there was a showdown with the Pentagon basically said F you, and Project Grudge was more of like a sanitized version of Project Sign. It's like neutered, and they actually had more than one internal battle over it, which was pretty interesting. But ultimately, they lost.
I have to ask, I'm very curious, because there seems to be this phenomenon where there's a public-facing program where the net doesn't really get too far or get anywhere, whereas there seems to be somebody like in the background who like knows more. I mean, like, right, like obviously there's like one of the most notable rumors is like the Cape Girardeau crash in like 41, 42, which would imply like they have like their hands on these craft like before 47, but like departments of the government are just like acting like it's just totally new phenomenon in 47. I mean, do you think these people were just kind of like trying to work their way out of a bag while somebody else was already holding on to it?
Well, I mean, it's interesting because, you have that and the whole Majestic 12 stuff, which, supposedly happened before Project Sign. But as I understand it, people were a lot more open about these investigations and a lot more open about the UFO topic at the time because it was so new to the public. The Air Force had to address it. Like, there wasn't this clamp down on secrecy early on. Like, the Air Force gave press conferences about, like, yeah, we're investigating the sightings. We're sending out, fighters to, like, basically scout the area, scout the coasts. Like, they were very open about what was going on because they wanted to calm down the public. Like, hey, if these are Russians or this is anybody, we're on top of it. You don't have anything to be scared about. And then after that, like, the secrecy started to kind of clamp down. But you could also argue maybe Project Sign was like a funnel for information, right? Like, you set out a team with a task. They go and get as much information as they can. Meanwhile, if you already know, like, that this is not of worldly or earthly origin, now they're finding out information for you without actually discovering the quote unquote secret, right? They're acting in ignorance. But, like, I have a hard time with that. I really do, because I do think that Project Sign was an earnest investigation, and I don't think anybody was withholding information up until, like, maybe like the third week of July, when they were like, okay, like, something's up here.
Interesting. Yeah, because Gresh kind of put the whole timeline back too, and I like what you said too, and I think it's worth noting, like, that they were all thought it was kind of Soviet at first, and also, like, at this time there's no real, like, 70 years of cultural UFO lore. It's not like the UAPTF that was spun up in 2020, where, like, there's UFO history and lore to draw back on. At the time when they were kind of coming up with the ETH, extraterrestrial hypothesis, it was kind of pretty novel. And I just think that's kind of worth noting, that, like, there wasn't really that out in the ether before that. But let's watch this next clip. I think you know this one, but it's fun, right?
This is the Pentagon, Washington, D.C. And this man is Colonel Bill Coleman. He was Chief of Public Information for the United States Air Force from 1969 to 1974.
It was here at the Pentagon that the Defense Department first became interested in the UFO phenomenon. This occurred in the late 1940s. With reports about objects and lights seen in the sky by military personnel and others. The Air Force decided to investigate the matter anyway. There was that one possibility that these flying objects could well be foreign weapons used for test purposes and might affect our national security. The investigative branch was called Project Sign. The project had only been underway for about 2 weeks when the Mantell crash had made headlines across the nation. The staff's investigation was far from complete. The public pressure was enormous, and they were forced to come up with an answer to really quiet growing speculation that Mantell had been killed by hostile aliens and some flying saucer. That's when we decided that Mantell had chased the planet Venus. However, this was an initial finding. The Chills and Hooded case had an impact on the Air Force project. It presented the first close-up account by highly reliable witnesses. The object described led some of the staff to postulate an extraterrestrial theory. And they wrote up an estimate of the situation, which at the time was classified top secret, suggesting that the saucers were from outer space. This theory was rejected by the Air Force Chief of Staff, General Hoyt Vandenberg, and even other Project Sign staff members as not having enough proof. So the extraterrestrial visitation idea was dropped for the time being.
Yeah, any thoughts on that clip, Tom? I think that's a nice little summation of kind of the time period you and your comic books kind of spend a lot of time in, right?
Yeah. So, like, one of the things where it's like, oh, like, the project started 2 weeks before the Mantell crash. I think the actual investigation started months earlier. It wasn't like until it finally became official right around when Mantell had his crash, and it's almost kind of like, I don't want to say serendipitous because, like, Mantell died, but, like, yeah, it was a very strong starting point for Project Sign officially. But that investigation started months earlier. I mean, these people were requesting ghost rocket files from the Pentagon. I know McCoy and Ludding and Diamond possibly visited the Pentagon once or twice to talk with Garrett. And that's where the mini estimated situation started, right? Because the Pentagon also had to write an assessment about what the hell is going on, right? And that document over time, like, evolved into, like, the final quote unquote estimate of the situation, where, like, they had a X amount of cases, ended up growing to be a lot more than they thought, and they had to actually, I don't know, come to some sort of conclusion. But like it is a nice summary, but I feel like there's just like a lot more that happened in between to lead up to Project Sign, where they were like trying to find out internally, is this ours? Can this be a domestic project? Rand took a hell of a long time to respond, and then finally LeMay is like, no, this is not ours. So we need a formal project. But by that time, Ludding, Dyerman, McCoy, I mean Miles E. Gall, they're all already working on this investigation, just like unofficially, which is really cool if you think about it.
Yeah, because what really triggered it, and I do have some stuff later on, because one of your live action things, actually no, well I do have stuff for it because you did film a Mantell thing, which is sick. But what really triggered it is like the Kenneth Arnold stuff, right? Or maybe was it even a little before that? What was the first real event that really triggered it? And yeah, what you're saying too, and I think maybe for the audience to get it clear, as I understand it, is like they were doing stuff, but the Mantell incident was very big in terms of publicity. So that's when
yeah.
Right. So although the flying why am I drawing a blank on who's the guy over Mount Rainier? I'm just drawing a blank right
Kenneth
now.
Arnold.
Kenneth Arnold.
Kenny Saucers.
Yeah, Kenneth Arnold kind of started, and that was kind of big in its own right. But by the time the Mantell crash happened, which we will cover, it was just like everywhere in the media, and it kind of became a problem, right, for the Air Force at that point with all the Mantell coverage, especially because, like you said, like someone died, accomplished World War II pilot died. Yeah, so
that was the big thing. Like he died, you know what I mean? And like now it's like, okay, you have a real problem on your hands because like he was chasing something, and he was recorded saying something like I forget what the exact transmission was, but like he believed he was chasing something very intelligently controlled, and like next thing you know, he nosedived, right? So I mean, there's theories as to why that happened. I think the prevailing one is that like he just the altitude he was at was way too high for that fighter jet. He might have not noticed or whatever, and he lost oxygen, passed out, and crashed. But Kenneth Arnold did kind of like set off everything. It was Kenneth Arnold and E.J. Smith on July 4th. They kind of set off this like saucer wave, like over, like everybody started seeing them. But what's interesting, and hopefully we get into it later, is like that's not the first saucer sighting that's recorded. Blue Book has one like throughout March, April that year before that happened. So like this idea that this was like all mass hysteria, that people were just seeing saucers because one guy reported in the papers, that's not true at all.
Well, actually, I don't have anything for that. So what was the one before Kenneth Arnold? Maybe tell the people about those real quick.
Yeah, so it was and I butcher this all the time, but it's incident number 17, I believe, in Project Blue Book, where this guy Walter Minchievsky, I think is his name, he was like a guy who like released Pybal balloons for like the meteorological department over there, and on 3 separate occasions. So he's releasing balloons, and he has a theodolite, right? So he's had instrumentation at the time. So March, April, May, I believe, 3 months. And of course, Kenneth Arnold happened in June, so this is before that. On 3 separate occasions, he reports seeing a silver disc come in and kind of just like hang out in the area before zipping out, right? And he mentioned this to a superior. They never wrote an official report. There's never a formal report. And what's really interesting too is they followed up with this guy. I think Kevin Randall did, another UFO researcher, followed up with Walter like in his 80s. So like maybe this was like 1970 or something like that, and asked him about this. And he's like, yeah, no, it's exactly how I described it. Like it was a silver disc, rough edges, saw it through a theodolite. But he was surprised that like there was an official report in Blue Book because nobody ever talked to him about it. Nobody asked him about it. So it's one of those things that like, gets kind of lost in UFO lore. I just like that case so much because it dispels the idea that this was mass hysteria. People were seeing this before Kenneth Arnold.
Very interesting. Yeah, no, thank you for bringing it up because I always thought it was just kind of Kenneth Arnold. That's very interesting to see. And maybe at the end, maybe I'll save it for the end. And once we go through it, like what you think they were seeing here, let's save that for the end. But let's continue. So yeah, that's just kind of we got those 2 videos to just kind of get us in the time period that your comic books cover, get us in the zone. And then what do I got? I got the slide of some of the storyboards and drawing boards. So when did you decide that you wanted to actually start making a comic book, and like how did that process go?
Dude, so actually because of that incident number 17. So like I have like the first pages that I did with Ezekiel, who's the artist for this. I read that and I remember digging into it and I was like, holy shit, like this is crazy. And we storyboarded a scene. So I storyboarded, sent it to him. He gave it back, and it was pretty crude at the time. Like I look at it now, like it's the work is very, you can tell in its early stages, but we storyboarded and drew like the whole or at least what I thought happened at the time, the guy releasing the balloons and seeing a saucer through this theodolite and just being like, oh shit, what the hell is that? And once I saw that sequence, I was like, this is really cool. You know, like, let's do more. Let's do more. So like what you're seeing here, on the right side, that was just, again, it was off the DC case. You know, I read about it. I wanted to storyboard it, you know, in like a one pager. And then we started coloring it and it came out really cool. And then I was like, hold on, we can make this like a story. And I started finding out more about Project Sign. I'm like, hey, this is what I want to talk about. This is what I want to convey, because like the story itself, the origin of the UFO phenomenon is so cool, and nobody really, like, I mean, I don't say nobody, but like people generally don't know about it. It took me like a year before I could even like, you know, start putting a story together and then like go to John and be like, hey, John, I think I have something here. Who's the other writer, by the way? Shout out John Zoidis.
And he's the person who we see acting too later, right?
Oh yeah, dude, he's phenomenal.
So it's three of you guys. It's you, John, and then the artist. Isn't the artist like in Brazil or something like that?
Argentina. So Ezekiel Anastasia. He's awesome, dude. Like he's put up with my bullshit, because we really work on these pages and like we color together. Like he'll send me files, I'll color it, I'll send it back to him, he'll recolor it, and it's like it's just like It's a really big team effort with a really small team that's like dedicated to like, yo, we want to make this awesome, right? Like we don't want to skimp out, we don't want to look like an indie title, we want to like really deliver something that like you can give to your friend and be like, yo, check this out, it's really cool. And they'll be like, oh yeah, that's sick. But then they'll come back a week later to like, yo, did all that really happen? Like, is this real? And then hopefully, you know what I mean? They're on UFO Twitter or something like the next day, or maybe not. But you know, they're down the rabbit hole.
Maybe not there. Yeah. All right. Well, let's. So I got one more of these, and then I do have like the three you sent me kind of pulled up in another tab, and I thought maybe we could just kind of scroll through, and you could just say a page that you want or something like that. But
yeah.
It's really impressive, man, because they're like 60 to 70 pages each issue, and you've done 2 full ones, and you're about to release the third one, right?
Yeah. Have you read the third one yet?
Not all of it, no.
It's good.
But I will. I definitely have it like downloaded and saved to my computer. But yeah. So I guess we could. What do we want to do? Do you want to look at the first one? I guess where are we at? Actually, no. One more slide. Let's look at the covers before we dive into them. But these are some of the covers. The art is really amazing. How did you actually find the artist? Because I feel like the art style just goes so well with the time period and like the subject matter.
So this is all like, honestly, like I have very limited resources, so I gotta go out and try to like find people. I found the Roswell cover and the Virginia cover. That guy was off of Fiverr, right? And he's not cheap just because he's on Fiverr. But I found his art style, and it's like this like really gritty and like just kind of like, I don't know. It's got this texture to it. And I got him to do those 2 covers, and we also did like a little, which I gotta show you later. We did a Roswell autopsy scene, which came out really sick. And then Derry Fletcher did the other covers, which are like the main 8 covers, and they're just famous UFO sightings. Like that's the DC flyover. And I found him off of UFO Twitter, and I texted him like, hey, I'm doing this project. Do you want to like help me out or whatever? I don't have too much money, but like I can give you, you know, tell me a rate or something, and like I'll see what I can do. And he came through in spades. Like his covers are like my favorite thing about this series, you know. And again, this is just like to, you know, drive the point home. This is very community oriented, where like I'm trying to tap into talent that's like already there, and like put something together that's cohesive and like, you know, like kind of has a life of its own. But it's grounded in like in just like the community itself.
And it's not sensationalized, and that's what I hope my audience really takes away if they've never heard of you or anything. Is like Tom puts a lot of work to make it like historically accurate, look beautiful, make it affordable. He's got a normal job, right? Like he's doing this on his spare time. Also, once we get to the live action stuff, you guys are gonna be blown away. Like this is already amazing, and I'm blown away by it. And you're just like, I also continue to be blown away.
I do just also want to point out too, like that something you mentioned, like each comic book like is like 60 pages on average. So like the first one's 65 or something, no 64. Second one's 84, right? The third one's 120-ish. So like the normal issue, dude, is like 30 pages with a bunch of ads, and I'm like, fuck that. I don't want any of that. You know what I mean? And it doesn't read like a slog. It reads pretty quick, but like, you know, I just want people to like get more bang for their buck. You know, it's criminal what some companies get away with and what they charge.
All right, so we got one of the issues up here. I guess we'll just kind of scroll down, and if there's any part you wanted me to stop on or a page you want me to go to. When did you release this one? And
This one I released.
In it?
Man, this is like 2 years ago at least. So this is the first issue. Basically, so we follow Project Sign from the beginning. So this starts with the first UFO sightings, right? To like get the public excited, to get the Pentagon worried, and then like you start seeing the conspiracy aspect take hold a bit, the fear, the paranoia, but it sets up the fact that like, hey, there's something out there that are fucking with our pilots, right? It's people are seeing them. We can no longer ignore this. We have to start investigating this. And it starts off with a really sick dream sequence, which I gotta like, all that credit goes to John, because I actually didn't like it when he pitched this to me, and it came out really awesome. We do like a flash forward. We have a little bit of symbolism there with Adam and Eve, and like, you know, the tree of knowledge and the apple. Yeah, and that's Mateus too. That's also another artist from Argentina, you know. So like that like I contacted, and he does all of our intros, which are kind of like, they're like prologues, you know. And our engineer wakes up. This is after Project Sign. This is disbanded. This is Albert Diamond. He's having this dream, and it's supposed to be a metaphor for, you know, like he can't. Like, how do you go on knowing what he knows at this point, and also knowing that, like, you know, the government doesn't care, or at least they it looks like they don't care. So he has this talk with this reverend, and it's about just his faith, and, you know, like something's bothering him, and it goes into his background as an aeronautical engineer. And
this was the guy, right? When we looked at the sign group pic, it was the guy in the middle and the bottom who was bald, right? So this is a real person, right? This is what's really cool. And I don't know if you guys saw as we were scrolling through, you put a bunch of real documents, right, that are cited in it and whatnot in each issue. So it's like super historical accuracy, super history nerd minded, but also like, look at it, it looks beautiful. It's that you incorporated, like, you also, like you said, you had that like Adam and Eve kind of trippy dream sequence, and then you also kind of have some time jumps, right, where you go to like more modern day stuff. You're kind of, it's cool that you're able to like dip your finger in a lot of these different parts of UFO history while also kind of staying rooted in the Project Sign stuff. Very, very fun.
Thank you. Yeah, and we like, this ends with a cool line. Like, he's like, the Reverend asked, like, can you tell me more? And he's like, no, sorry, that's classified. And that's also another thing too. Like, John and I fought about that line. Like, I really wanted that line in there, and he's like, no, it's a bit too cheesy. I'm like, but it's a comic book, you know. Like, you gotta have a little bit of fun. But so it's like it's more, you know, more of like an insight into that collaborative effort. And yeah, here's the actual report for Kenneth Arnold, which is pretty cool. So we kind of like, you know, we give a little of like an intro to like what might happen next based on the report. Kind of give you like a sense of like, oh shit, like, you know, what's about to go down. And here's Kenneth Arnold just on that day where he saw, I believe it was like 7, no, might have been 9 flying discs at the time. Well, not really flying discs, but crescent shaped, but, you know, ended up kind of snowballing into like he saw flying saucers. But again, and that's kind of like the hard part too, is like, we know these incidents happen, but it's like, how do you create that conversation that they might have had before, right? How do you make it like, how do you make it real, especially with that time period as well? Like, how do you make it interesting but also grounded, where like these are real people we're seeing, real people that like actually saw this stuff and like kind of created a lot of the lore that like we talk about today.
Yeah, no, very cool. And I don't want to go through the whole comic, right? Because we don't want to just give it to people for free. But like I said,
oh yeah, keep going.
But is there a page particular?
Yeah, go down to the actual sighting. That's the cool part.
Okay. Boom. So yeah, I like what you include here too, which I think a lot of people forget, is that he was searching, right? There was a Marine, C-46, you see right there, crashed, and a bunch of Marines died, and that's why he was out there, and a bunch of people were out there kind of looking for it. Wasn't there something I read one time that like, wasn't there kind of something suspicious with the cargo on that or something like that? Something nuclear related? Was there anything?
Possibly. I don't know about that. I
could be wrong.
Comment on that.
I could be totally wrong.
That would be wild.
Yeah, so Kenneth Arnold, right? He hears about this crashed thing, and he goes out flying looking for it. And this is when the famous
I love that line.
Sighting happened.
I think it's my lucky day.
Where was it, up here? Oh yeah, I think it's my lucky day. Yeah, so you and John are the ones kind of like writing the script, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's cool. Hell yeah, that's awesome, man. It's cool to see this. Like, this is so professional looking. It's really amazing. I hope a lot of people from my audience like get a copy of this, because it's really cool. And like someone said in the audience, who was it? Someone said like, oh yeah, I love this. Makes these stories more digestible for people on the fence, right? Exactly.
Yeah.
and you're not just giving them like slop, right? Like there's so much media, UFO media out there that's like, and I feel like you would resonate with this, like unnecessarily like fake. Like the real stuff that's going on here, these real stories are like super interesting.
Yeah,
Like,
and that's a
why
really good
give
point.
them- yeah.
We don't take a side. We don't take a side. We're trying to portray what we think happened at the time and got these people so spooked. So we don't shove aliens in people's faces. We don't shove like flying saucers in people's faces. We try to really are like, you know, and this is a great intro. You know, the following events are based on, you know, like real events, declassified military documents. Whenever possible, the use of creative license has been avoided. And like that's kind of like our intro for every issue, but we
I like
want to
that.
remind people like, yo, this happened, and this is just a portrayal of events that happened 75 years ago, right?
Very cool. So yeah, we'll go through the sighting here, and then we'll maybe go on to issue 2, and then we do have you literally started animating some of these, which I do have queued up so that we can watch. That'll be really fun. But yeah. And sorry guys, like me and Tom are just kind of nerding out here. Anyone hop in?
Yeah.
And at any point, if it's too long, if anyone has to go, by all means. But yeah, we're just gonna keep going through.
No, this is dope. I love catching up on all this stuff, dude. And then it's great to see like a close-up digital version on the screen. It feels like theatrical.
Yeah, it really does. This is cool because yeah, until you sent this to me, I'd only read the ones you sent me, so it was like, it's kind of a different experience here, especially with the music going on in the background. We're scrolling through it.
Yeah, you can scroll. So here's like we introduced the Pentagon, and you can scroll past it, but like we kind of try to divide the different areas like AMC and then the Pentagon and then civilians with different color palettes. So like because it's a lot of people and a lot of like, you know, like a lot of alphabet soup. So we want to make readers know that like, okay, here's this color palette. They know they're looking at the Pentagon, or they know they're looking at Wright-Patterson. So we just kind of like switch it up that way.
See, and what I think is going to happen is I think disclosure is going to look just like this. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
So it's going to happen through something like this: a story, a movie, a comic book, something that gets in front of everyone. And then, you know, it's kind of like that movie, The Big Short, right? Or like, you know, Sound of Freedom, like movies that are about specific topics and everybody's talking about them, right? Like it's gonna, like, this is what it is. This is exactly how
Media
I see
is so
it.
powerful. It's so powerful,
yeah.
and like people forget, you know what I mean? And it's like, you know, it really helps, like it can really open up people's minds. And like Reddit, if you can just like scroll down towards like to the very end, because I know like you're pressed for time, but like here's AMC, we're introducing the ghost rockets, and like here's some artwork. But towards the end, like we have like a real sighting that like, again, we do it from the pilot's perspective, and here's where we took like the most creative liberty. And again, with another argument, well, not argument, but like between John and I, we're like, okay, are we jumping the shark here? You know what I mean? But I like the way it turned out.
So yeah, just tell me when to slow down the scroll speed. But yeah, like
so like right.
colors. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, we have like a pilot being interrogated, and you got like, you know, two people out there giving him some sort of truth serum and be like, all right, tell us what you really saw. And like this, again, this was something that happened behind closed doors, which is why we took liberty with it. They actually investigated this pilot, and on the report it says he was very adamant that he saw a flying saucer, right? So we're like, how can we have fun with this and not, because we're not doing a documentary, we're trying to present something that's digestible. And like this sighting afterwards is so cool. We go through exactly what he saw based on his report, and then, you know, they kind of they lose their shit on him because they want to make sure that he's not a Russian asset, right? That he's not telling them some story or drumming up some sort of misinformation, and they want to make sure that this guy is like actually telling the truth. But this sighting here, just the way it came out,
Yeah,
like
this looks
Ezekiel
great.
knocked it out of the park, man. And he's like drugged up, so like that's why it's a little out there, and it's very X-Filesy, which we want to like, you know, have that delicate balance between like X-Files ish and like, you know, a real historical account of what happened.
Wow, beautiful. Yeah, let's look at that one more time. Very cool. Very, very cool. Oh man.
Yeah, Ezekiel, I'm sure hates me sometimes because like some of the pages we spend days on just a panel sometimes.
Wow. Each image is so much labor of love. It's crazy. And and read like 61 pages and like look at how beautiful it all is. This is really amazing. And honestly, I think it's better than that other one that came out.
Oh, yeah, yeah, they, I don't talk about that anymore, but they know what they did.
Yeah. Should we look at the second one real quick, and then we'll kind of go into some of the animation you do and the live action stuff? Is that fun?
Yeah, sure.
Cool. Boom.
And just
Issue
feel free
number
to
2.
pause if you have like a question about something, but otherwise you can just go like right through and just give people like a taste of like what it looks like.
What was the
you know.
so? How long did after the first one came out did this one come out, and what's the general gist and vibe of this one?
I mean, it took us almost a year to come out with this one. It took a long time, right? Because like we really wanted to follow up with something that like just hit as good as the first one, right? Because the first one, like I'm so proud of. So it's like, okay, the bar is set. How do we do that? Second one, it follows the same story. It's all sequential, right? So the first one, these sightings happen. We start seeing the main players in Project Sign, like at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base and also at the Pentagon, start finding out like, hey, what's happening here, right? And so we start off again with another sighting, right? This is kind of like a prologue from Mateus, and this is a sighting at White Sands. And like we go a little into like the science behind the V2 rockets and what happened there, right? And like why these scientists are like what they're doing at that base, right? Why is this base so interesting? Like why is it? Because we see White Sands pop up in UFO lore like time and time again. But this was a real
in my
sighting.
little spiel, it had it in there, right? I think it did. In my little one we played earlier from my documentary about it, I think I had the White Sands because there were some early White Sands sightings. Like,
Yeah, and this is one of the earlier ones that like, again, the Pentagon received during that time. It's like, what's going on? Right after Kenneth Arnold, like now like we have scientists claiming they're seeing a flying saucer near a very sensitive military installation that are testing V2 rockets. And like we go a little bit more into the background of Alfred Ludding, one of the engineers and the main character of the show. And it's like we really try to flesh out these people. So like again, they're real people with like, like just real emotions, real thoughts, real biases, right? And we also try to play up like the atmosphere. Like there's a scene in here where like the kid turns on the radio and they're talking about the flying saucer stuff, and it's like just like really eerie and like really moody, and like try to like really bring that to life. And like as you go down, they're investigating. They start talking about the ghost rockets and like because at this point now they're trying to figure it out. AMC is like, okay, we need to figure out like what this is. But it's a very preliminary investigation. So the engineers, they all have different thoughts and opinions. They're discussing past sightings. And like we try to make that exciting as well. Because sometimes you read a really thick book, it's like you get bored sometimes. So especially when it's historical. So we try to not do that. And here's the Pentagon just, again, flipping out over the White Sands incident. It's specifically because it made the front page of the news. Right, they don't want this shit in the news, and they're like, who's talking? Like, why are they talking? Right. Also, what is this thing over White Sands? And again, the artwork is just like I'm so proud of the team. Especially here, they're talking about the Maxwell sighting, Maxwell Air Force sighting. It's really like I'm proud of like in like my 36 years of life. This is the only thing I'm proud of. So
no, bro, you have a lot of stuff to be proud of. But this is amazing. This is insane that it's that you haven't been on Weaponized yet. I guess I'll say it that way.
Dude, I'm like we're
no.
I feel like I'm not gonna throw shade on anybody, but like I think you have to march to a certain drum to get on some of these shows, and I'm just I just am who I am. I'm not gonna change it.
Well, we are gonna watch one of your short films that's called Doxxed, so I'm sure maybe some of that stuff will come up in that one. But yeah, very cool. Should we show the third one, or should we leave people teasing for the third one? Well, the third one isn't even out yet, so actually maybe we shouldn't show that yet, right? When does the third one come out?
Just scroll through a little bit. I feel like some of the artwork in there is pretty cool, but third one, like we're still in development. I mean, we're really close. And again, we're releasing all this at once, right? So like our Kickstarter ended last year, and we're just gonna like once all this is done, we send it off to the printers, and then we start fulfilling orders, and we'll just have it all there ready. Right, because it's just too expensive to do it. Other people like don't realize that like these are like I don't want to say but like 15 to 20,000 per issue almost once everything is said and done, right? Wow. So like it's so and then you add printing costs on top of that. So like it's better do it at once with the manufacturer. They give you a good rate because you're printing more at once, and in that way we just
Tom's putting a lot of his own money, his own blood, sweat, and tears into this. and I hope to see it pay off soon. I think in terms of just the workflow, like you definitely have something to be proud of, but this should be everywhere in ufology, to be honest. And hopefully some of my audience, like, great Christmas gift, right? They're super affordable too. That's the thing. Like,
Yeah.
you really, and you give so many of these out. Like, it's crazy. You've really
Dude,
given, yeah.
I grew up so poor, man, and it's like I'm it's just like I don't know. I feel like the poorer you grow up, like the more you just want to give, like once you actually have something to give out. So I do get shit from people for like giving out so many, but like I said, I feel like people should have this if they're into this topic. Like it really is like, I don't know, like almost like a cheat sheet. It really kind of summarizes what happened. And the third one again picks up right where the second one left off. They're investigating, and like this entire time we've been building up to this like huge flying saucer wave, right? July 4th. And that's why this issue is so big. It does
Oh,
that.
does it?
Like
It covers it in this. This covers the 1952
Yes.
wave. Oh, then yeah. That's
No,
why
no, no. So this is all 47.
Oh shoot.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
yes,
So it's
that
all
big wave.
it's
Okay.
all right after each other. It's all from the beginning of Project Sign to the end. So like we built up these characters. They know something's on the horizon. They think it's Russian, and now finally like the shit hits the fan, right? Like it's just like they were not ready for what happened that week. I mean, flying saucer sightings all over the newspapers, all over the media. Like we had there's an infamous one. If you want to be able to scroll down to that one with the EJ Smith Flight 105 sighting, where that guy is basically like, I'll believe it when I see it, right? And as soon as he takes off, he has his own, like he sees like 8 flying discs with his co-pilot and a stewardess. And he comes down and he causes the media storm. He's like, yeah, I was talking shit, but I saw it. It's there. I don't know what you want me to tell you. And that's this guy. He's taken off.
Oh, marked for redo. Now, is this?
Yeah, I gotta redo that page. Yeah,
Nice.
dude.
like
So
this though.
I'm just not happy with the page, and it's not anybody's fault. I think we rushed it, and like we have to go back and just redo the whole thing. But like here's the actual sighting itself. Like it's very, it's true.
This beautiful.
Dude, thanks. It's true to what happened. You know what I mean? It's like we don't embellish it, and we really try to be as like agnostic as to what the UFO phenomenon is. But like these people saw something, and that's what we're trying to portray. So we don't take a side.
Thank you,
shit, nice.
Amy, for putting it in the link in the thing too. Yeah, no, this is a great gift for anybody, and also like someone said, this is a gift you could give to your family member who thinks you're crazy for being into UFOs to maybe gently get them into the topic.
Dude, I've been giving this out at work, and now everybody at work thinks I'm like the UFO guy, and I'm like, I'm into this topic, but I'm not a ufologist at all. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do like that. Actually, this one isn't done yet, so we can kind of see like behind the thing, because like, dude,
yeah,
so much
this is
work
a previous
into every page, every panel on every page, dude.
This is like an earlier version I sent, and it's just like more of like it's like in the preliminary stages. But we've definitely like we're in the final 3 scenes now in terms of production, and I know my Kickstarter, backers are anxiously waiting because we thought we'd deliver all of these by now, but like the scope of this project has just turned out to be way bigger than we thought, and like we're just we're making sure that like we deliver, and like what's happening is we're over delivering. Right, because like this turned out to be 120 pages. I could very well just cut into 2 parts and be like, all right, 4 issues, here you go. But like we want to finish strong. So we're actually going to finish with the Mantell case. Spoilers. But we finished with the official start of Project Sign, and if it's successful enough, we'll cover the entire investigation.
Nice, and I hope it does, man. I really hope it does. I put your Patreon in the thing. If you ever do another Kickstarter, if that is a thing, please do it. If any of my audience is rich by any means and loves UFO, invest in Estimate if you can. At least buy a copy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, at least buy a copy. But like we are looking for people interested because we do think we have something special, and it's just again it's a lot of passion behind this whole project.
And we're not even on the animation or the live action stuff you've done yet. So this is amazing. Does anyone on the panel want to say anything about the comic book before we kind of move on to the animation and stuff? You don't have to by any means. It's
I feel like non-Cred's definitely eating something.
Actually, no. That was at the beginning of the stream. Had a chili cheese dog. But no, I was just gonna say, yeah. Whoever in the audience is $50 million, so Tom can make a TV show without having any creative compromises. It'll be the next Walking Dead. Just all you need is $50 million.
Thank you, non-cred. I appreciate it.
Dude, this live action stuff coming up, dude. I love this stuff, dude.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's continue along. I think, like I said, Alien Girl put our Good Morning UFO put the link in the live chat, and the link should be in the description after. We'll continue along then. What do we got here? Boom. That's what we just did. Boom. Oh yeah. So we'll just watch these. These he made. Some nice
man,
little
the
promos
early
for it.
days.
Yeah.
I was so full of life.
What is the actual subject matter that Estimate of the Situation is tackling?
Sure. The subject matter that Estimate of the Situation is tackling is basically the inception of the UFO phenomenon in America. Back in 1947, there were a series of sightings that made the newspapers, and at the same time, we're traveling through intelligence channels, and it became this big mystery, at least for us in the military sense, as to figure out what these things were that were flying around.
And obviously, I didn't
That's
live in
John.
the 40s, so I can only go based off the research. But there seemed to be a brief moment in.
Tell us about John, because it's our first
Dude.
time kind of seeing him.
John is like a genius. 1, 2, incredibly talented, and I had a draft of the first issue, and I had I think maybe 40% of the stuff written and drawn and storyboarded, complete drawn, colored, everything. And I go to John, I'm like, look, I know you're really smart. I'm having trouble writing. There's so much material. I need to condense it to a narrative, and I think I might be all over the place. Give it to John. John doesn't say anything for a week. And mind you, I've been trying to get him involved in this project for half a year at least, right? And he's like, yeah, maybe, I don't know. Because you think about it. A friend comes up to you, he's like, yeah, I'm making a comic book about UFOs. You're not necessarily enticed, at the beginning. Finally, I sat him down. We had a skiff at a bar, right? We had a couple of drinks. I brought all my fucking notes, my binders, my notes, the previous draft. Here's what I have. Please help me. He's like, I'll take a look. Takes a look. Within a week, he's like, okay, you know what? Yeah, we can work with this, right? Don't hear from him for another week or two. And I'm like, okay, he's not going to be part of this project. He doesn't give a shit. He calls me. He's like, look, we're going to have to do a complete teardown of issue 1 and start over.
Wow.
And my heart sank, right? And I was like, ah. But then he explained why, right? And again, the intro, fleshing out the characters and stuff. So we did keep some of the scenes in there, but he helped restructure the narrative. And he's so good. He studied Shakespeare for years, I believe. He's an actor, as you'll see.
Oh, you could tell he's good at acting because he looks like both Matt Damon and Ben Affleck at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it, But he is definitely equally as part of the team, if not more of a creative force on this series. And that's this is a team effort by multiple people, 3 or 4 people that are really trying to put this together and make this the best it can possibly be. And I think honestly, thank God for him, because if he did not come in, I'm pretty sure that first issue wouldn't be anywhere near as good. And it's the arguments we get into over what scene stays in or what lines stay in and what lines stay out. It all works towards something that is, I don't know. It just works. You know what I mean? It just works.
Hell yeah, dude. Let's. I'm glad you guys connected. You guys seem to really balance each other out on this whole thing and really work off each other in really cool ways. So let's continue this.
Time when the UFO phenomenon first started, where it was a fact in terms of the public consciousness. The public was at least accepting pretty immediately that there are these things flying around and they could be extraterrestrial or at the very least advanced military technology, whether they thought it was the US or Russia. And then pretty quickly that fact becomes fiction and it becomes conspiracy and conspiratorial thinking up until, like you said, basically up to a few years ago.
So there was the nice little promo, and then I got this promo that you guys made. You guys made so much cool stuff, man. Let's watch this.
Instantaneous propulsion.
It's indie. It's all
right
indies,
angles on a dime.
Do it yourself.
Hypersonic velocity without signatures of any kind. It didn't just want to be seen. It was mocking us.
There was a sort of luminous encountered a large aerial craft.
Frantic inquiry up the chain of command confirmed what we already knew. It was one of ours.
Dawned a new era. The era of the unidentified flying object.
Is that you, by the way, editing these?
It's a terrific
Yeah.
piece of work here. This first issue.
I gotta be honest, I loved it so much. It's so consistent in its presentation. The artwork is fantastic.
The minute I saw what these guys were doing, I was all in.
I've got my copy already virtually, and it is fantastic.
My name is Tom Worthachowski. I write, edit, work with John and Ezekiel and Mateus to put all this together and hopefully bring something that everybody enjoys.
Hi, my name is John Zoidis. I am a writer for Black Tie Labs, and I grew up in Queens, New York.
I've always had a bone to pick with how Hollywood's kind of portrayed the UFO phenomenon. It's always kind of cheesy, campy. It's not grounded in the reality that like it actually happened in. And I know John says this a lot. It's almost like you don't have to embellish the truth because the truth is a lot stranger than what you think it is.
You know, I was the type where I'm like, there's probably some other explanation. And then once I got into the research, pretty quickly, I realized like, oh yeah, it's actually kind of irrational to acknowledge that there wasn't something going on here.
I was always involved with UFOs in the community. I always really wanted to know what was going on. Back in 1947, there were a series of sightings that made the newspapers. At the same time, we're traveling through intelligence channels. And it became this big mystery, at least for us in the military sense, as to figure out what these things were that were flying around.
And obviously I didn't live in the 40s, so I can only go based off the research, but there seemed to be a brief moment in time when the UFO phenomenon first started where it was like a fact.
It's a story about a group of men facing something they've never seen before and are using their whatever resources they have and their own wits available to them to find out what this was.
In terms of the public consciousness, the public was at least accepting pretty immediately that there are these things flying around and they could be extraterrestrial or at the very least advanced military technology, whether they thought it was the US or Russia. And then pretty quickly that fact becomes fiction and it becomes conspiracy and conspiratorial thinking.
Project Sign is basically a government mandated project at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base where they got our best intelligence officers, our best aeronautical engineers to come together and solve the UFO mystery.
I think it's important to tell the story from the investigators because, again, we want to go on the journey with them and we want to be able to see what they're seeing because we're trying to get a front row seat to what actually was going on. And the people who had the front row seat were those investigators. At the same time, they had the expertise, the intelligence, and the resources to actually figure out what's happening. So if you're along with them, by the end, you will get a very clear idea of what went on and what this could have been.
I want someone to read the book and walk away with understanding what happened in this time period. They have the names, the dates, the events. They can go cross-reference it themselves and they can go down their own rabbit hole, hopefully in historical context, right? Because there's a lot of BS out there concerning this topic. This way, they have almost like a roadmap and a very, I don't even want to say elementary understanding because we do go really in depth into what went on, but they have a framework that they can use now to, fill in the puzzle pieces for themselves. So it's like almost like an element of self-disclosure, at least, in my highest aspirations.
Looking through the eyes of these investigators and we're along the journey with them, figuring out information as they go along and finding out new revelations in order to get them closer or further from the truth.
We walk them through it.
I want them to come away with that first issue feeling like we are telling an honest story, that we're staying true and respectful of the UFO phenomenon.
I think it does it justice to someone who's wanted something like this grounded in reality, grounded in an element of truth, to further their interest in the topic.
Hell yeah, bro. So are you editing all those kind of like After Effects overlays and all that stuff? Is that you?
Nice. I'm editing everything, even the scenes that we'll see later on, and the lighting's definitely got better, but we shoot and edit all our own stuff, right? And like again, with two people doing it, like there's some concessions that are made, but like I really just try to like prove that like you don't need $100 million to like do something that's like worth watching or worth listening to. And again, you have to, dude. These days, right? Like you gotta do it yourself. No one's gonna come in and do it for you.
And
right?
it's also never been easier, right? Like this,
Yeah.
it's difficult. What you're doing is amazing, but it probably would have been a lot harder like 30, 40 years ago, right?
Oh yeah, 100%. It's like that's the thing. We're like in a gold, and like people kind of know me as a UFO guy, but what I really like talking about is like empowering other creators to take advantage of the resources they have. Like today, like like I mentioned Unreal Engine a lot of times. It's free. It takes a couple of weeks to learn, and you'd be surprised what you can do with it. There's like never been a better time to like be interested in a topic and then start like creating or use it as a muse to create stuff around it, right? Especially if you have a passion for it. So like. I'm really big on like just like indie creators taking control of their passions and presenting their work in a very polished way that like we don't have to rely on Hollywood anymore. Honestly, everything coming out of Hollywood has been garbage. You know what I mean? So it's up to us to like make the stuff we want to see.
Hell yeah, man. And I guess you could speak on this too. I did include this. I guess we'll just play the clip, and you could just kind of walk
our
us
first
through.
shipment.
Yeah. Maybe for anyone in the audience who's like looking to make something and be independent, like you're saying.
Dude, yeah, I had no idea. Like I thought I wasn't sure this would even come. Like if it was like a scam or not. But I looked up some of the manufacturers that DC and Marvel were using overseas, and they put this on a boat and shipped it, and it took like 2-3 months to get here. When it finally got here, here's like the unpacking of the first issue, and it's like again, it's just like two guys just like unloading like 4,000 comic books and the boxes that they're in to just like put in my little studio, right? And we're not like we're not Hollywood by any means. Like it is a very indie effort.
So to anyone maybe trying to do this themselves, you recommend that was a good resource. Look up the competitors, what they're doing, and then go to the source.
They look, everybody outsources everything. Like the manufacturing chain, everybody that like does anything that you like or you've bought out there, they manufacture it probably in China, right? That's just the reality of it, right? They do it for cheaper, and they also like the quality is really, really good compared to like, especially if you're doing print work. Printing here is like hit or miss, and it's extremely expensive. And over there, they'll work with you. They'll like, they'll make sure you just get it right. And like, if you open up one of these books and you feel it, like, the quality is better than anything you'll see on the stands today, and it's like, it just is what it is. So take advantage of it, right? Develop those connections and just really do some research. But like the main thing is just do it, man. Just start. I had no idea how to do any of this. You figure it out along the way, because once you get far enough in it, you're like, damn, I really want to see this through. And then you start just like, finding your rabbit hole, like down manufacturing or printing or whatever. Someone recommends something. Next thing you know, like it's there.
That's amazing. Right? So that's kind of like the same with Chica and the timeline, and even me with documentaries. Like when I started, I didn't know anything about editing or how to do any of this stuff, and it's really inspiring to hear you didn't really know anything about this industry, and you've been able to produce such. Because like storyboarding is one thing, art is one thing, like coordinating it all is one thing, but also just like shipping and like production is a whole different beast, right? So
yeah, you have to like design it, and like do what Tupa's doing with the timeline, like is sick. Honestly, like
it's amazing.
Yeah,
thanks, man.
It looks slick. You know what I mean? Like I don't know, like I haven't used it, right? I wasn't on the beta list. I guess got lost in the mail, but it looks slick, and it's like it's something that I feel like
LOL.
It really did get lost in the mail. I sent out a bunch of invites to everyone, even Mello, and he was like, "Yo, man, I didn't get on the list." I'm like, "No, I know I sent it out," and I went through and checked. And what happened is my site got like, I don't want to say attacked, but it's exactly what happened. It got attacked with submissions, so I got a bunch of bogus attacks within 1 minute. And the way my site's set up, it like deactivated my email, and it didn't tell me. It just was like, here's a security feature, no more email for you. So it's a learning process. I have no idea what I'm doing, but
People will get you in there. People will get you in there.
Oh yeah, I'll get you in there as soon as we're doing like another launch of early access, and I'll get you in there, dog. You've sent me like 3 comic books, and they're all badass. It was even fun to open them, dude. It's like top secret folders, and you open this like premium package. No, it was sick, dude. Yeah, you're getting in.
Thanks. Yeah, dude. And like what you guys are doing are very empowering, like with the documentaries and timeline, and like I don't care about like any other stuff. Like if you can empower other users to like take that control into their own hands, I think I mean, I'm a big crypto guy too, right? Like it's kind of like the whole shtick is like you can empower yourself like financially, right? Same thing here, same concept. You can empower yourself through information, and it's a way of doing that. So I mean, like props to you guys.
I have to go to the restroom real quick, but maybe you could riff on this estimate. This is you at like Comic-Con, right? And you guys go to these conventions, and you guys that's a whole separate thing, right? That like Marvel or someone has like a whole separate team department that just focuses on this. and you guys are out here doing it yourself. Maybe tell the audience how this all came about and stuff, and I'll be right back.
Yeah, dude. So like Comic-Con, first of all, is extremely expensive if you're a vendor. Like anybody will tell you that, right? But then like they give you this booth and you gotta set it up and everything. And like the like in that first photo, like all that stuff I printed at Staples. You know what I mean? I didn't like I didn't have anybody to do it. So like they have like all these like little templates that you can use, and like I had a bunch of assets, right? So like like I printed it out and like set up a little booth. And again, it's another thing of like, you don't need like a super duper team to like help you produce something. Like I did this through Staples. I went and I picked it up and I set up the booth like with John the day of. So again, another thing where it's like people can take, control their own destiny and be like, you know what, I'm going to do it. And I met Dan Zetterstrom there, which is pretty cool. Gave him a couple of copies. And like, it was cool, like having people come up and like, they're like, oh, what is this? And it's funny because people actually talk to you about their UFO experiences. You know what I mean? Like it was like an inside joke, like, oh, what's this guy going to tell us? Right. Like at some point people were talking to us about chemtrails and all this other stuff, so like it's a great conversation starter, but like you start to realize people are really like, into this topic in general.
It's
or like,
crazy, dude. I bet all the content creators on the panel can probably resonate because we're all probably like the UFO person in our circle. And you definitely get a lot of stigma still. A lot of people are like, what the hell are you interested in? But then you get the most random people who are like, yo, I had XYZ happen in like 1987 and I don't tell anyone about it because no one would believe me. And like in my life, in my experience, it's been like pretty like respectable people that I never would have expected. So like, yeah, it's really interesting, this topic, how different people respond to it. But yeah, sorry, continue.
Dude, so we had someone from Wright-Patterson who works at like, I forget the department. It's like one of the science laboratories there, right? And he's like, he's like picking up. He's like, I know these people. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh shit. So he bought a couple of copies. He's like, dude, I'll get you in the library over there. So like our estimate situation number one is some private library in Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. Yeah, I think it's really cool.
Dude.
So
That's
it's
amazing,
like
bro.
It's cool, you know what I mean? So I think those people love that shit too. It's like, they're like 18, 19, like working there, but they know like that the Air Force, the Wright-Patterson Air Force Base is like steeped in all this like, mystery and lore, like in the history.
Yeah, hell yeah. All right, well, let's get into the animation now. So after after issue 2 or after issue 1, you kind of started getting into the animation. Here's the beginnings of it, right?
About 100 feet in diameter. It stopped at about 5,000 feet above me and hovered there for nearly a minute. West stated. He set the object, then began to drift horizontally to the left. I got a wonderful view of it then, he said. It was flat on the bottom and had a curved top. There was a sort of luminescent band of greenish light surrounding it, but the center was white. West stopped the car and started to back up to observe the strange object longer. As soon as I started backing up, it left, West stated. It moved horizontally and was out of sight over the horizon in a matter of seconds. I've never seen anything move so fast.
Wow, that's amazing. And I do have a bunch of the animation stuff, but I think let's just go step by step, right? Because what was this stage of animation like? This is sick.
Dude.
This is amazing. How are you doing this?
I don't even remember like I think this was in between 1 and 2. I just honestly I looked up somebody again. I always I was like, all right, how do I bring this to life in another way? Like I'm like obsessed with this, and I really love anime, right? Like I love anime, loved it since Dragon Ball Z, like back in the day, and I was like, it would be really cool if this was like a really dark kind of serious anime, and I wanted to create like a concept. And I hit up like a couple of people on Twitter again, right? And they're like, yeah, I can do this for you. Here's my price. And like, they gave us like the very basic. They also touched this up a little bit. I have like other versions of this, but it was another learning curve. They sent me like sequences in Clip Studio. I had no idea how to like work any of it in the beginning. And then like you really get to see like how these people do it. And again, I sent them storyboards, and I helped them. Well, I didn't help them, but like, we worked together to bring it to life. But it was just another medium that like, don't know what I'm doing, but I'm going to try. And I really want to finish this. I want to get someone to color it. I want to go the whole 9 yards to have like a really slick anime intro-ish or like a scene where it's like, again, conceptual, that this can work. This can work in any medium. Right? Like it doesn't need to be a comic book, doesn't need to be a film. It can even be an anime. As long as you do it right and you know what you're doing. You have that kind of vision of what you want it to be. And
Yeah, I think an
it's
anime would
just-
be amazing. And
Dude, it'd be sick.
J Gaff in the chat said, I think an anime featuring an Ace Comic Force that it could be cool. Yeah, I think, and it'd
Yeah.
be a good way to get around some of the like cost of maybe doing some of the sequences IRL. It would be an anime
dude,
would be cool.
Animation's expensive. Like that's another thing I had to learn.
Yeah, I bet. Huh?
Oh,
I bet.
oh,
Let's go
Lodi,
to the
where's
next one.
Dodie?
Let's see, because yeah, it gets more intense, dude. It's cool that you documented all your progression and all this stuff.
Thank you. Yeah, it's
historians appreciate.
I gotta show people why I'm single, right?
Some say the moon.
Hear that,
I
lady?
choose this as our goal. And they may well ask, why climb the highest mountain? Why 35 years ago, fly the Atlantic? Why does Rice play Texas? We choose to go to the moon.
Wow.
You got this to look really similar to those covers.
Yeah, that was the idea.
Yeah, you did a great job.
I'm still working on this scene too.
Go to the moon
Like,
in this decade.
That might be better for talking. Sorry.
yeah, though I'm still working on this scene too, and like trying to get it to a place where I'm comfortable with. But and again, it's learning Unreal Engine. Like, if it wasn't for UFOs or my interest in UFOs, I don't think I know what Unreal Engine. I wouldn't be able to like actually learn it. But because I want to portray this, it's forcing me to use this and be like, okay, this is another way to bring this to life. Let me learn how it works so I can at least crudely animate, some stuff. And obviously the idea is to like have more people come in and help me and like form like a real production company where it's like, it's not just me doing all this stuff, but like the more people you bring in, at least if you vet them and like you work together, it's gonna come out dope. It's gonna come out even better. Same thing with John, right? When he came in, he came out sicker.
Dude, how'd you get the model of the Capitol here? Did you get this?
Marketplace.
Okay,
Unreal Marketplace
okay.
cost me like $40. The UFOs cost me a bunch of. So like but like the
Genius.
crazy thing about Unreal Engine, dude, is you can light it, dude. You can make the color of the sky whatever you want, sunset, anything, and it's like there's a learning curve, but like once you get the basics of it, dude, it's such a phenomenal tool for anybody that wants to tell a story. And it's free, and that's the
You're
crazy
converting
part,
me,
dude.
bro. I think you're converting. Do you mess
Dude.
with Unreal Engine, Tupa?
No, I mean I started to, but then I love videography as well. That's where I cut my teeth, is just video directing. I started getting into Mid-Journey, like creating scenes and stuff from just AI. And that's a whole different ballgame. You have much less control, if any, right? But it's like this experimental process where you just roll the dice and you're like, maybe this could be good. You know what I mean? But this gives you, there's so many different things you could do. You could change the lenses. You have the whole scene. You could do whatever you want in the mix. Like having it there and being able to move around that 3D space, I think it's not just the types of visuals you can create, but the types of experiences that you'll be able to create with those scenes.
And that's one thing, like I really like control, and I think that's like probably my biggest strength and downfall at the same time. Is like I'm very hyper militant about like what the vision is, and like yes, there's leeway, there's compromise, and when people bring in their own ideas, like obviously like it turns into a different thing, like with Estimate, but at the same time like the fundamentals have to be there. So like AI is like not there for me just yet, but I do see like how crazy it is, And with Unreal, like I storyboarded the scenes that we'll see later with Unreal Engine. Like I put in the mannequins, I got the actors to like record a dialogue and send it to me. So we storyboarded it and like kind of edit a scene already before we even shot it. Right.
It's like a baked-in animatic. Like you're already like moving. You can it cuts a lot of steps out. But yeah, this is amazing. So you made the UFOs themselves like luminous, right?
Yes.
How did you? Oh, sick, dude.
Yeah, you can. I mean, there's all different. Like you have to mess with the materials and like.
And you can
all
make
the
it
other
smoke
stuff
if you wanted to. Like you can make it made out of anything now.
Yeah.
And this is all within Unreal. Now, how hard is it to get these elements into your scene?
To get them in the scene, not at all, dude. It's learning how to manipulate them. That you're kind of like, oh shit, and using the camera and the sequencer. But I mean, like, it's just like anything else. It's a learning curve. Like, once you do it, it becomes second nature. Like, when you're editing a video, the blade tool, this tool, that tool, you don't know what you're doing. But, like, within a week or two, you're, like, editing your first, AMV to Dragon Ball. Like,
now, Unreal is different than Blender because it's all like it's kind of real time, right? Now, how long does it take to get a scene? If let's say you animate everything how you want it to go, and you want to start exporting your scene, what's it take to export something like this? Is it longer than Blender? Is it?
I mean, I don't know if it's longer. I think Unreal's strength is that, like, in real time you can get away with a lot more because of the engine itself. But I mean, exporting is all different formats, dude. Like, you can do like super hyper quality, and like I'll render like this, like a 30-second scene for like 6 hours. You know what I mean? Same with Blender. Yeah. So like you have to, like, I usually render like shitty versions first, and then like once I edit it and I'm like, oh, this is cool, I'll re-export the cuts like overnight and just try to put something together. Like, I've been working on an OpenEye sequence that I just have him do narrating, and I just have like crazy shit happening, and it's like it's a lot of fun.
Dude, you're converting me. I feel like I could have a lot of fun.
Yeah, dude.
Making a mess with this stuff, dude. All right, let's see what we got next. Okay, so I got this because we're gonna cover some of the Kenneth Arnold animation stuff, but I thought it was like a nice little, just kind of get people back in the zone, right? Of like the time period and what we'll just watch this. Although I think this clip is super copyrighted, so I'm probably gonna have to trim it out after. But this is just Kenneth Arnold, who we talked about earlier, kind of officially, unofficially kicked off the flying saucer wave. Tom let us know there was a few sightings before. But I'm gonna pause it just because I know this clip does thing. If anyone wants to say anything at any point, I'm gonna try and pause it a bunch of times in here. But nice guy.
And I assumed, of course, at the time, in a split second, that it was probably a P-51 fighter that
I'm
had
actually
dove over my
curious.
nose, and that it was the sun's reflection.
Does anyone, like, I was reading these old Omni magazines, and I found this like excerpt from oh god, tip of my tongue, Project Blue Book, the guy. Anyway, but basically he said that like Kenneth Arnold had like other sightings like later in life. Like, does anyone know?
I've heard that. Yeah, I've heard that. Tom,
He's
tell
had
us about
other
it.
sightings. Well, yeah. So like Kenneth Arnold's like a bit of a tragic story in a sense, because like he didn't want any of the fame, any of that, and like he definitely like wanted to find out like what he saw. When he first saw what he saw, he thought that this was like a government project, like a domestic thing. But in case it wasn't, people he should report it because maybe this is something that the government should know. And he was very pissed off that like the government like seemed to like not care about it. So like he fell for some scams too as well, like some hoaxes, because like at that point he's trying to find out what he saw. And I have some like cut out like scenes that we have of Kenneth Arnold of getting made fun of. Like they called him Kenny Saucers, I believe. Like it was one of his nicknames, And there was like this scene that we did where, based on a true story, they have two people bring out this guy in a straitjacket, you know what I mean? Who's like talking about, oh, I saw him, I saw the flying saucers, and it was a dig at Kenneth Arnold. So this is shit you have to deal with. But I think ultimately he ended up thinking that like these were intelligent creatures of some sort, not craft, but like it was something of sentience that had an intelligence.
Like
and that's
something.
Yeah, so that's the craziest thing about like his arc, Like I don't think he was out for fame. I think like he had that famous quote, dude, if I saw a flying building at this point, I wouldn't report it, because he was just like, he was done. He didn't want any of the attention. He was sick of it, right? He was a serious guy. And he's
I think his daughter was an experiencer too. I don't know if you've ever heard that.
Oh,
But I heard
no.
that his daughter had some UFO experiences, but it's interesting. I could see a really good movie about this, like where the main plot is just kind of like the media sweeping up the sensationalism of it, and like the B plot is like actually the UFO stuff. Because he was like the first kind of viral UFO case, you know what I mean, and kind of used and abused and along the way exploited by a bunch of different people, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
While still just trying to figure out what the hell happened.
It was J. Allen Hynek. There it is. It was on the tip of my tongue. Yeah. Because like I just think it was interesting that like late 70s, early 80s, he's out here being like, oh, like people who see more than one UFO, like that like puts their their credibility like hugely in doubt. But like here with retrospect, hindsight 2020 and all that, it's just like we see so many people like with experiencers. Like once the phenomenon shows up once, it keeps showing up. Like it runs in the family. I'm like, I don't know. It just felt like it wasn't really fair to like Kenneth Arnold,
No, it wasn't. Like I said, I don't know if he'd want to see it if he had. I mean, he'd probably say yes, but like some part of him probably is like, if I had a chance to not see those things, maybe I should take it.
All right, well, I'm gonna play a little bit more of this, then we'll go to the animation of it. Thank you, non-credit, but also non-credit. It kind of sounds like you're popping on your end, your microphone. I don't know if there's something you could. Maybe...
Okay,
smart, right? What's his background? Do you know?
So I think he sold like fire repellent devices, like fire extinguishers or things like that, to other businesses. He made his money that way. So like when he flew, like I think he either traveled for business or for pleasure. Like when he was, looking for that downed aircraft, there was a reward. So that's why he was in that area to begin with, right? But like when they interviewed him, the report is insane. Like they said, like either this guy is the best fiction writer of all time, or like he really saw what he said he saw. If you read his book, if you read like his statements on the report, like he is so thorough with every step of the way, and it's just the way he is. Like he's a little uptight, you know what I mean? And it's like a very interesting character. But I believe him 100%. Like there's no doubt in my mind that like he saw what he said he saw.
Very interesting. All right, well, let's go to the animation I think we got here.
Yeah, so Kenneth Arnold was basically a 32-year-old salesman who had a private plane who would basically travel from city to city. By all accounts, a successful, very well-respected businessman, and was a patriot. I mean, again, this is wake of World War II. He had taken a detour going to Yakima, Washington, because nearby there had been a Marine transport plane that had gone down, and they were offering a reward for finding it. And he couldn't find it. It was about an hour's way back to his original destination when he saw these, he reported to be 9 essentially flying discs, flying saucers, although this has been misattributed to them. We don't actually think he actually said that. And was following them, had estimated that their distance, their speed, their size, and he reported it essentially as soon as he landed. Ended up in the newspaper the next day, and it quickly caught fire, got picked up from a lot of other local newspapers, and essentially, again, virtually overnight, he became this mainstream celebrity. I mean, he was interviewed by Army intelligence for like 6 hours after it happened, and by all accounts was a completely willing participant. He wanted to tell people what he saw. He thought he was actually doing his patriotic duty, because from what he understood immediately, he thought either these are invading, this is invading military technology from an outside force, or this is some sort of new aircraft built by the U.S. government and that he stumbled upon. And he just wanted to know which one it was. But yeah, he became an overnight celebrity, and then quickly, I mean, even to this day, he sort of became, he sort of got turned into a laughingstock in a lot of ways. Basically got smeared as a kook. But yeah, this was really just a normal guy who was at the right place at the right time, or the wrong place at the wrong time, depending how you look at it, and just reported what he saw. And everyone who spoke to him, the reporters, the Army intelligence officers, people afterwards who had their own sightings, they had no doubts after speaking with him extensively that he saw what he said he saw. I mean, he had no reason to lie.
Wow. Fascinating. Let me see. I think next we're going to start to go into, unless there's anything you want to say on that, Tom, we're going to go into the live action stuff that you started. Does that sound fun?
No, yeah, this is really cool seeing the progression, like staring back at me, I see it getting better, but like some of the stuff makes me cringe, but it's cool to see that, like, yeah, man, it's getting better.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's always been sick, but it's amazing to see it, like you said, just continue to get like better and better. So I think this is the behind the scenes of your first live action, which your first live action thing you did was kind of set in the present day, right? Which we're going to watch. And then you did one that was set in the past.
Dude, all right, to preface this, I think I know what this is. I think I was listening to Mario Wood Space at the time, and again, this is why UFO Twitter sometimes can be such a gold mine, right? Like either of like people coming forward, I'm not necessarily into the insider information stuff, but I like people's experiences, and I like especially when they're authentic about it, and I also just like listening to that kind of conversation. And I don't smoke weed anymore, but I'm pretty sure I smoked a lot of weed. And I was like, you know what? I want to just do something, right? And I shot this. So this one makes me cringe a bit. And I just want to preface everybody
Really?
with that.
Well, first we're gonna watch the behind the scenes, and then we're gonna watch the actual clip. Oh wait, is this? I think I might have two behind the scenes. We might just do one. Let's see.
He was frozen to a steering wheel, and it took two of us to pull him off of it 5 hours later. That object was so bright and so full of energy, never got out of my vehicle.
Oh wait, sorry, I misremembered. So this is you actually just did like a little solo thing first, and then you did it.
Yes.
So yes, sorry, I forget. My bad.
You're completely disabled as a human being. It's just so overwhelming to come into contact with something that is so farther advanced technologically and close up and full on. The heat from it, the rays from it. My partner's so frozen and breathing, looking forward, and just in a position comatose. And that were 3 small beings, rays, and 1 tall behind them. And in the small being's waistband, they didn't seem to be walking, they were gliding. It was a wand of some type. It drew my attention to it because it had a glowing tip. The one behind him, the big one, he had something on his chest. Everything went dark.
Nice. So dipping your feet into the live action, very cool. And you said he was just weed. Hell yeah! Shouts out weed.
And Mario Woods, man, like I just wanted to recreate like listening to that experience because it's so visceral. The way like when he said it, I was I'm cooped up in his office 90% of the time. Like if I'm not working, I'm working on estimate. And like hearing this, I was like, what the hell did he just say? You know what I mean? Like he saw what? And the way he delivered it is just so authentic. And I was like, damn, I want to try to recreate like, and again, it's just me and a tripod, right, with a camera. So like, it could be better, but listening to that space in real time, dude, was wild.
Okay, I'm connected to Wi-Fi, so please let me know if my audio is better. But was that the space that Rob Wood fell asleep in and he left me to host, man?
maybe could have been. Yeah. I don't know. I just remember Mario Woods like that's the thing that stood out for me. And like when he described those beings, I'm like, holy shit. And you look at Mario Woods, he's not
the audience, Tom. What's the TLDR on his case again? I forget. He went to Arrow and all that stuff, right? I
gotta be honest, I don't know his case that well.
Okay.
He was by a base, and maybe someone can come up here and explain it a bit better. But like he saw, like he was with a buddy of his, and then like he saw like 2 beings, right, that were like almost like as if they were floating. And like the way he described it was like, imagine being in the presence of something that is so far advanced and so far ahead of you, right, that it's just like you're not that you're nothing, but like basically you're nothing next to it. He used obviously like a better word. And his partner was frozen in terror, like in fear, right, while he's seeing these things. And the way he describes it, it's insane. And you look back at the records, I think there's actually like there's documentation about his experience and reporting it. It's not something I did a deep dive into, but again, the way he related was just like, it was wild to me,
Yeah, man. Because he was like base security and like they saw like a craft too. Richard Doty was on the scene. I don't know if you know that one. Their estimate.
I do. Yeah, that's
I love that.
I've got a bookmarked.
Part of your first ever live action. You can't escape him. All right. So then after that little scene, right, the little birth of inspiration, we got the behind the scenes for the first edited scene you did in a bar. I guess let's just watch this. You could tell us about the behind the scenes, and then we'll watch the clip. Cool.
There's a whole team dedicated to it. What did he say they were called? The aviation group or something?
No, the aviary.
The headphones always make you look professional. It's like a matte box for a camera. That's John reading the script. So like we wrote this, and like a day of, like we were like making changes, and
the group of individuals loosely associated with military intelligence, they act as disinformation agents.
Are the A-Lamels here, John? Are the A-Lamels really in this bar?
You know what he told me? He told me that the government will actually feed journalists fake stories on purpose, and then later they'll expose them.
So, Tom, Where are the Alamals?
That's Chris, by the way. He's a friend of mine.
Project Serpo.
Nice.
Psychological operations on Paul Benowitz, an American citizen. I mean, it's everywhere.
It's really funny. I'm so specific, but I lost half the footage here.
You have a real tendency towards self-pity, Tom.
Oh, this is so cool to watch before you watch the scene. Great foreplay.
Yeah, that'll work. We're still gonna need that opening line with Chris.
Maybe. So what was the process on actually doing something IRL? I see you're at a bar. I know we've talked about like being at a bar and all that stuff. How is this?
Dude, I mean, we just we wrote the script. I wanted to do something live action. We talked about a couple of ideas, wrote a draft, sent it over to John. John looked it over, sent me his version of the draft. Then we kind of like, we figured it out, basically like what we wanted to do. And we rented a bar for like $500, right? I called a couple of friends to help me with the camera stuff, and we had 2 cameras running at the same time. So when you watch it, you'll see that like I'm missing a couple, like hopefully I hit it very cleverly, but like I had a whole other set of coverages, right? But because I'm working both cameras, I'm doing the sound, I'm doing the lighting with my friend. I'm also acting in it, right? Which I don't like acting necessarily, especially when I'm doing all that other stuff. So I'm like rigging stuff, and I'm sitting down. I'm like, okay, let's go, right? The other camera was completely out of focus and everything, so like I lost all that footage.
Didn't get to use any of the shots.
No, dude, all the wide shots, the establishing shots, but like we made something cool, I think, at the end. Like the inspiration was. There's been a lot of, like I do listen to Spaces a lot, and there's a lot of talk of doxing and things like that, and I'm like, oh, that's kind of threatening, you know what I mean? And it's something that kind of repeats itself in ufology, even before the whole, Twitter Spaces, right? So I'm like, I want to include that, and Doty, I had a couple bouts with him publicly, and I started digging into the aviary and just misinformation in general, and I wanted to kind of just bring that aspect to life and kind of show people a different side of ufology that people don't know. And I was starting to learn about Bill Moore a lot, starting to learn about like Doty's involvement with Benowitz at the time. And like these are really, really interesting things that like aren't necessarily at the forefront of ufology, especially Doty's involvement with a lot of this stuff, and Bill Moore. So we just did something very X-Files-y. I'm a huge X-Files fan, and I'm like, let's just rent the bar, let's show up, and we do it. And so this is our first like live action put together by ourselves, basically. We didn't have any help. And I think like we did okay. I added some Unreal Engine stuff in there, and like hopefully it resonated with people that like, this could be a show, this could be a movie or whatever, but it's something cool to watch. That's not necessarily out there. But again, make the stuff you want to watch. I wish there was a show like this out there. I'd watch it.
I would too. And I do like that it's kind of inspired by the doxing and harassment culture. It's interesting to see all the ways the different ufologists and content creators react to it. It's almost like we all recognize it, and we all got to express ourselves via art about it in some way or another, you know what I mean? Well, I guess we should watch it then. I think John here, and actually now that I'm thinking of it, I'm like, damn, we should have had John on. Is it too late to get him on? I mean,
no, John, I told him about it, but I think he's got a kid, he's got a wife, and it's like, I just, I hate bothering John enough as it is.
Cool. But I think he kills it in this scene, by the way. Like, I feel like he's got the that guy from Lost, that like kind of that creepy guy vibe. Like, he's very good at being creepy in this scene. So let's watch it, dude.
Phenomenal actor.
It was aware of our presence, and it had acceleration rates. I mean, it went from 0 to matching our speed. And
the government is in possession of potentially non-human spacecraft.
On the panel today for sharing their stories on how they've engaged UAPs, which has brought attention to this matter.
And actually, our material science is currently using
Non-human spacecraft. Crazy world we live in. You know about this stuff?
Me? No. I mean, I've been following this for a while, but after 4 presidents, 13 wars, 3 recessions, a global pandemic, and in between that, there's 4 and 5 government projects where they actually investigated unidentified flying objects, as well as a crash retrieval program, a reverse engineering program. I mean, I don't know anything. I can't keep up.
Biologics games.
But that guy says he does, and he joins a long list of pilots, engineers, rocket scientists,
Shout out Grush.
admirals, generals, astronauts. They're all people that are saying that there's something there. You know, and I'm not just talking about like lights in the sky or crop circle in the middle of the woods, or even a story that they heard from a friend of a friend, something that they saw with their own eyes and they think is.
My buddy at work, he loves talking about UFOs.
The objects that are being seen by commercial pilots are performing maneuvers that are unexplainable due to our current understanding of our technology.
Is there any indication that these UAPs could be essentially collecting reconnaissance?
Are you aware of any of our enemies that have that capability?
You know what he told me? He told me that the government will actually feed journalists fake stories on purpose, and then later they'll expose them, so they all look like frauds and nut jobs, and you can't trust anybody about anything. It's crazy, right? There's a whole team dedicated to it. What did he say they were called? The aviation group or something?
No, the aviary.
What's that?
The aviary. It's the group of individuals loosely associated with military intelligence. They act as disinformation agents effectively. They create and spread fake government documents in order to discredit real legitimate researchers who are trying to talk about this stuff, as well as contaminating the flow of information so then nobody knows what's going on. You don't have to look far to find it, right? All you need is an internet connection. You can look up things like the Majestic 12 documents, Project Serpo.
Oh, yeah.
Psychological operations of Paul Benowitz. He's an American citizen, for God's sake. I mean, it's everywhere. You can't escape it. So that's probably why nobody knows what's going on.
Wow. For a guy who says he doesn't know anything, you seem to know a lot.
Yeah, either that or I'm crazy.
You have a real tendency towards self-pity, Tom. Has anyone ever told you that?
How do you know my name?
And I don't think you're crazy. Your sister Katie doesn't think so either. She believes you, doesn't she? She's in Arizona now, right? Just had her baby daughter, wants to be closer to the in-laws. They had a big one there once too, didn't they? A UFO sighting, I mean. That was when, 97? Flying disc the size of 6 football fields. So they say. That was in Maricopa County. She's not too far from there. Scottsdale? No, Paradise Valley. Safe neighborhood, suburbs, and yet she still feels the need to use a digital keypad on the door. Paranoia must run in the family. In fact, I know it does. What's the code on that keypad? 21615? Unless she's changed it in the last week.
Who are you?
Curious man, like you.
I've seen these off of our East Coast.
Several other former military and intelligence officials have come forward.
Time flies. I could pick your brain all night, but I've got work in the morning. Now, I want you to put this all in your little black notebook so you don't forget. Yeah? I'll be seeing you, Tom.
Little tongue-in-cheek.
With one member of the flight crew who took the image. The image was of something that I am not able to attach to any human capability.
That was really good.
From the United
Damn. Gave me chills first time I watched it, dude.
And I'm not just saying that because you're my friend, but that part especially where like he's letting you know all the personal info about you, and you're just staring at him, and it's zooming in, and the music's there. He kills it. And like I said, he's so good at being creepy, huh? And you did a great job too. Like I don't know what did everyone else think. Everyone give props here. That was sick.
Yeah, that was
like
super
4 tequila
amazing.
shots in. Thank you.
Yes, the acting was insane. That was so on point. I was really there. What you guys are creating is something very special. Like that's what's hit me looking through. Like obviously I already knew that, but the way that you're snipping in the current events, and then like you're looking on the reflection, and there's Rush and the reflection, and it's you, Tom. It's you. It's real, right? And it's kind of like that's what's exciting about it. Like I know you, Tom. Like know you when you're at comic book. What's going on? And then I actually clipped a clip in my documentary. Ha ha ha.
I saw, yeah.
Yeah, because it's the part where you're talking about like, oh, I'm the weird one at work. And I'm highlighting all these documents. And so it's kind of cool because that's how you described yourself on my show. And then like I see this and it's like, whoa, that's so cool. That's who we all connect to you, Tom, in some way, like we all connect to UFO friends and things like this, right? And so I think that's what's interesting is like when I watch this, the character I identify most with is you. And I feel like I'm in a movie. So like this is very special. This is very, very special. So
thank you. And I had to get my dig in at Doty. Like Red's right. I had to like get my dig in at Doty. Like it was just kind of like if he's gonna see this, I want him to know.
You got your dig in at Ashton. I saw that one. I mean, 270s distant.
Very. See, I don't want to get into arguments anymore. Just express yourself and like what you think is happening with this phenomenon.
What you're doing. You're so expressing yourself through all this art, and I do love it. And I feel like you're like letting stuff out that I don't know, not in a bad way, but like I don't know, maybe stuff like you wouldn't want to say, but like you're willing to express it in like an art form. And even some of the questioning was eerily reminiscent of like some of the ways people like who I think are just secret Scientologists talk to some of us in the field. Like I know all this about you, and I'm like.
Fun fact, dude. John used to think I'm crazy because like we knew each other before this, and like I would try to talk to him about UFOs, and he'd be like, "Get the fuck out of here with this," And it's just so funny how the tables have turned.
Yeah, no, this is great. Non-cred, Tupa's a filmmaker. Tupa.
Loved it, absolutely loved it. John's acting is crazy. It's a really hard thing to sell, right? You like this idea of intimidation, but he does it. He has like this slimy kind of like, what I mean?
Good
like,
at it.
yes, it works so well. Like, and your reactions are great. I loved it. This is like I said, I was telling Red this. If there was like 30 of these on a YouTube channel, I would watch them all, dude. I'd go through all of them in one sitting.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. I want to really like bring John, like to present him like this to the world. I think he's such an undiscovered talent that it's like, it's criminal that like he's not in these roles. He's not doing these things on Netflix or something like that,
Yeah. I kind of want to go for it. Yeah. Don't credit.
I was just going to say real quick, you might have thought my comments about give this man $50 million and, no creative restraints, and he'll make you an award-winning TV show. Like, you might think that's like air up your what, but like, no, like I saw this and I was like, wow, like this could be the next thing. Like all, it blew me away, man.
Thanks, man.
Yeah. We got someone in the chat who's just bringing hella scandals. I kind of wanted to listen to this part again with the music just because like it's so hype, bro. Let's just see.
Wow. For a guy who says he doesn't know anything, you seem to know a lot.
Yeah, either that or I'm crazy.
You have a real tendency towards self-pity, Tom. Has anyone ever told you that?
How do you know my name?
And I don't think you're crazy. Your sister Katie doesn't think so either. She believes you, doesn't she? She's in Arizona now, right? Just had her baby daughter, wants to be closer to the in-laws. They had a big one there once too, didn't they? A UFO sighting, I mean. That was when, 97? Flying disc the size of 6 football fields. So they say. That was in Maricopa County. She's not too far from there. Scottsdale? No, Paradise Valley. Safe neighborhood, suburbs, and yet she still feels the need to use a digital keypad on the door. Paranoia must run in the family. In fact, I know it does. What's the code on that keypad? 21615? Unless she's changed it in the last week.
Who are you?
Curious man, like you.
I've seen these off of our East Coast.
Directing him is so much fun, dude.
Military and intelligence officials have
I bet, man. He's killing it there.
He killed that in 2 takes too. 2
Wow.
fucking takes. Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing, man. That's amazing. Okay, we got that's amazing. We got one last kind of little batch of clips and stuff, all related to the Captain Mantell thing. And I did kind of do what I did last time too, where I got a little clip, and I'm sure you know where this is from. But This is from the 1956 movie, right? Maybe you want to tell the audience about this because I feel like me and you are some of the main people in the community who have a really big appreciation for this movie.
Well,
What's
I
this
think
movie?
that's how we first like started like talking and becoming friends. Like this was I think is like one of the best like documentary films on the UFO phenomenon, especially around that time. It had people from like I think Al Chop was in it, a bunch of other people that like actually related to the investigation were in it. They showed actual footage, which I think is still one of the best pieces of UFO footage out there, right? The Tremonton, Utah footage, and there was the other one with the two craft flying off in a distance. And it's just like not too many people know about it, but it is so, in my opinion, so much better than any of the stuff that we've been getting in the last like 20 years or so.
Because they were like calm and collected about it, and like you said, they were the people there. You can never redo that. Like, what's that one? I'm sure you know. What's that one Soviet World War II film where it's I
don't know actually.
Oh, it's like super kind of gruesome and sad, but basically it was made by people who were like who were partisans in Yugoslavia during the time. And it's like there's just something like when the people who were actually part of it are part of the project, there's a magic there that like can never be recreated. Like if somebody was to make something about that time period today, even stuff like yours, which is great. But yeah, so they made this movie, and in it they kind of outlined a lot of the stuff that was happening during some of this time. One of which being the Mantell UFO Incident, which you cover in part 3, right? You said, or is it going to be in part 4 of the
no
comic
part 4
series?
Part 4, yeah.
Part 4 of the comic book series, but you do have your first kind of historical live action, which we're going to watch after this. So let's maybe watch this first. This is just historical stuff to get us all in the zone again. This is, as we said, this was a movie made in 1956 with a lot of the Blue Book people describing this event that happened in 48. All right, boom.
Approximately 1400 on January 7th, 1948, the Kentucky State Police reported to the Fort Knox Military Police that they had sighted an unusual aircraft or object flying through the air, circular in appearance, approximately 200 to 300 feet in diameter, moving westward. The provost marshal at Fort Knox called the commanding officer at Godman Air Force Base.
Call Flight Service at Wright Field. Determine if they have any experimental aircraft in our area. We have a report of an unidentified aircraft south of the field.
It was about 13:15 when the tower controller in the Godman Tower received his instructions from the commanding officer.
Right, Patterson?
The PFC continued giving routine instructions to a light plane which was practicing takeoffs and landings.
Flight Service.
Captain Hopper, Flight Service.
Flight Service is a clearinghouse. The positions of all military planes are carefully plotted so a minute-to-minute check may be made on their position, course, altitude, and speed.
Flight Service to Godman Tower. We have no experimental aircraft in that area. However, we do have a B-29 and an A-26 on photo mission in that area.
In the meantime, Lieutenant Cowan, the AACS, and the operations officer had arrived in the tower. They were joined by the intelligence officer and the executive officer. Upon hearing the information from Flight Service, the executive officer called Colonel Hicks, the commanding officer.
Can you come over to the field, please?
At about 13:50, the tower controller saw an object south of Godman Field and directed it to the attention of the tower. Lieutenant Cowan was the first of the group, after the tower controller, to locate it. He immediately directed it to the attention of the operations officer. After observing it for a moment, he picked up a telephone and put in a second call to the commanding officer. While he was putting the call through, Colonel Hicks arrived in the tower. It was now about 14:20. About 14:30, a flight of 4 F-51s being ferried from Marietta, Georgia to Stanford Field, Kentucky, was sighted south of the base. The commanding officer issued an order to contact the flight leader.
Channel B and find out who's leading the flight. Godman Tower to leader, Flight 451. Godman Tower to leader, Flight 451. Come in.
Captain Mantell, Flight Leader F-51 to Godman Tower. Over.
Stand by for further instructions. Get to the flight into the area of the unknown. Victor Mantell on a heading of 210 degrees. Godman Tower to Captain Mantell. Come in, over.
Mantell to Godman Tower. Over.
Godman Tower to Captain Mantell. Investigate an unidentified object in your area. Your new course, 210 degrees. 210 degrees.
Mantell to Godman Tower. Changing heading to 210. Loco, out.
One of the ships in Mantell's formation, NG-336, piloted by Lieutenant Hendricks, requested permission to land at Stanford Field to refuel and get oxygen. Permission was granted. Captain Mantell and the other two planes started to climb toward the object. The second pilot made a similar request. Both wingmen refueled and, after getting oxygen equipment, took off again. Captain Mantell, flying NG-3869, continued climbing, outdistancing his wingmen. At 14:45, Mantell called the tower.
Mantell to Tower. I see it. Above and ahead of me. I'm still climbing.
A few moments later, one of Mantell's wingmen was heard.
What the hell are we looking for?
After a moment, Captain Mantell made a reply.
Mantell to Tower. The object is directly ahead of and above me. Now moving at half my speed.
Godman Tower to leader, flight 451. Godman Tower to leader, flight 451. Come in.
Mantell to Tower. It appears to be a metallic object of tremendous size.
The object now was in visual view of the tower personnel.
Mantell to Tower. I'm trying to close in for a better look. I'll go to 20,000 feet.
Shortly after this, Pilot Hammond, the remaining wingman with Mantell, called Mantell over his radio.
Level off, Captain, until I've regained visual contact.
The personnel in Godman Tower waited tensely for Mantell's reply, but he made no answer. A moment later, Pilot Hammond made another report to the tower. Mantell seemed to have disappeared. Mantell had apparently climbed beyond his wingman. At 15:25, the remaining wingman broke off and returned to Stanford Field. The object, which was in visual sight from the tower, as were the F-51s during the chase, disappeared at approximately 15:50. The F-51s were first lost to view, and then the object went behind a cloud.
Godwin Tower to Captain Mantell. Come in. Over. This is Godwin Tower to Captain Mantell. Come in. Over.
At 17:50, Stanford advised Godman Tower that Mantell had crashed 5 miles southwest of Franklin, Kentucky.
All right, we'll stop it there. But I mean, I feel like me and Tom love that shit, dude. That
Yeah.
was fire. So yeah, so this is so we just saw your first we saw your first live action, which was you in your room, and we saw your second live action, which was you in the bar, modern day, and now this one that you're gonna do was based off this incident we just watched, the Mantell UFO incident. And as we talked about it earlier, someone did die. There's obviously like a bunch of debunks for it, and a bunch of people who still say it's all debated. His grandkids are still out there kind of championing it. But first things first, something cool about this is the uniform. Tell us about getting these uniforms. This is sick, dude. And also, this is the guy, by the way. And actually, I'll find a picture of him, who I think looks like General Samford. But tell us about these uniforms while I find the.
By the way, I think I gotta say Nora made me laugh because she's like, oh wow, like I love the jacket without the any sort of dress shirt, clown. But yeah, dude, I was like testing them out, right? Like, so I was getting uniforms off of eBay, off of people who are relatives of service members, and I would like message them, or like some of them are like from like Goodwill or something like that. And I had no idea. Like, I was just getting any sort of material I could. I didn't even write the scene yet. I didn't have any idea. I just knew I wanted to do something in this time period. And this was a way of like getting authentic uniforms. And so these are actually like a little bit later. Like the real Army Air Force uniforms are more like the brown in color. But I wanted something that was like cool on camera. Yeah, but like close enough, right? Like, for no budget or whatever.
Yeah, I think he looks really close. Actually, I was like, I was shocked at how close this guy looks to me, like General Samford.
Oh yeah. Him, like his likeness to Samford for sure. But the uniforms themselves, I think they're a little bit off. But like again, I had no idea what I was gonna do with them, except I knew I wanted them in a scene, and I have like 7 or 8 of them now, right? Because the sizes are all messed up. They're all different from back then, or they're worn out, or you get them and they have like mothballs and stuff. So once we got this, we're like, okay, cool. Let's do some camera tests. And I did them with John first. And I put he put them on, I filmed it. And I was like, dude, this looks really awesome on camera, right? Like I would love to direct something like with these actual like these military personnel actually in a conversation. And we landed on Mantell. And again, there's a lot of debunks for Mantell. There's a lot of people that will say it's this or that. For me, I'm not interested in that. It happened. I'm interested in the reaction from the officers at the Pentagon, from the intelligence officers at the time, and what this meant for them in terms of like how seriously they started taking the UFO phenomenon. Because again, somebody died, right?
Exactly.
But putting these on were a lot of fun. And like at some point, I was like, what am I doing? But I think we put them to good use. And it's a pretty interesting experience to put on like a uniform that was on like 45 or 40 or 50 years ago.
I'm sure the historian in you was just having a play date or heyday or whatever the phrase is.
Yeah, dude, I was geeking out, man, for sure.
Here's some more shots of the uniforms. Look at John killing it, bro. John is killing it, dude. Wow. Very cool, very cool. And shouts out to Steve Long. I did not know this. Did you know this? During World War II, Mantell was a C-47 pilot. He participated in dropping the 101st Airborne Division into Normandy.
No, I didn't know that.
That's a good flashback maybe for book 4. You know what I mean? Who knows? That's the thing I love about all this stuff too. And I plan on going back and just doing like video on like I have an Edward Ruppelt video planned. I have a bunch of videos about people.
Red, I'm sure you experience this too, right? Like, so the whole part, like one of the reasons for doing estimates is actually like I wanted to learn about it myself, right? So the further we get along, project sign and like investigation, like issue 4, issue 5, or whatever, throughout the entirety of it, I'm learning as I go along. So it's this almost like cathartic way of researching. I don't know. It's like in a different way. Like when you're doing documentaries, I'm sure like it's because you really want to know what happened, right? And then you get to finally put it together and then like do it in like an hour-long documentary. But it's very cathartic.
Yeah, no, totally. I totally agree. And with you too, what you said earlier, it quickly spirals out of control. Like my one 3-part Blue Book series was supposed to be like one 30-minute video that like eventually expanded into 3 videos, totaling like 4.5 hours of edited documentary time, which is like $800 billion in James Fox money.
Don't even get me started.
Right. We got some behind-the-scenes photos before we watch it. So where was this one? Just an office room?
This was an office room.
Then a bar, I'd imagine?
Well, you would think so, but the bar was a lot bigger, so we can stage, like if we just had a crew, we'd be able to stage stuff a lot better. This we had a crew. So Max, he's the second silhouette on that first photo. Max, that I mentioned earlier, was a DP for this one. So I brought all the people I work with, like professionally for like commercials and stuff like that, to film a narrative scene. And we had a budget for it, like a very small one. But like I was like, hey, this is what I can afford. Can you do this? Max did it for free. Like God bless his fucking soul. But he brought all his gear. You know what I mean? And it's like, because like I think he's seen the genesis of this project, right? So like he really believes in it. But like all the stuff you see in the last photo with my silhouette, that American flag and the stand I bought from Amazon, right? The stuff, the posters I printed out at Staples, right? The binders I got from like a junk shop here in Brooklyn that like it had all this vintage stuff. The typewriter I got from eBay, right? But it's a legitimate typewriter. And I noticed you don't have the trailer. Oh, I wish you could play the trailer because like I love that thing. Like seeing it type out like the actual words gives you that feeling of like.
We could pull it in real quick if you want. I have.
Yeah. I can send you the YouTube link, but like, but just to like, I don't know, like the staging of everything. It's like all of this is like hand picked from like eBay and stuff like that. There's like no prop stylist, right? So we had to dress up a room that was like really, really small, and like that's why again some of the angles aren't as wide as I like them to be. But like you really, have to transform it from looking like the office from the Matrix, which is what it was, to something that can conceivably be in 1947.
Here, I got the trailer here. Let's go. Boom.
Oh shit, there we go.
We have credible sightings now in the United States, Canada, England, Hungary, Finland, Sweden, Guam, and Japan. Not to mention unconfirmed reports elsewhere. No sound, extreme maneuverability, high rate of climb, hypersonic velocity, no apparent means of propulsion, no heat signatures of any kind. And shaped like discs. Flying saucers.
I love the way he delivers that line, man. Fuck.
So good. And bro, even those shots on those typewriter shots aren't just like, you got to really plan those things out to get the look you want for stuff like that, dude. Wow.
Yeah.
That was amazing.
I talked about it with Max a lot.
U.S. Navy personnel.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, Max is really good at product stuff, and like I work with him a lot, and like he's another genius, right? Like he's really good at lighting, he's really good at like getting those close-up shots, and like I was like, dude, I bought this typewriter, it's so sick, I really want like, you know, like I want to do that, and he's like, yeah, it's fine. But of course the day of it's a lot harder, you know, I'm like under the camera typing. But like Carl said, some like the angles are fine, the closeness adds to the claustrophobia. Yeah, and that's what I like. Like I want the sense, like I do a lot of tighter shots, because I want the feeling that like this is like closing in on them, and like the way Max like framed it too is like it's got an element of comic bookness to it. So I don't know, I'm just really happy with the way it turned out. It was a little expensive, right? It's still like super micro budget, but again, we're doing this on our own, and we're just trying to prove that like, yo, we scale this up, like this is going to be something, this can be really sick, and you know, selfishly I just want to make the stuff that like I want to watch.
Yeah, no, this looks amazing, and now we're gonna watch the last video on this, and yeah, dude, like
quick.
I said, go for it.
Yeah, if I could just say, right, there's a certain TV show on a certain network, and I mean, it's pretty good. It's about Project Blue Book, but it's just like a wash in this CGI kind of cheap TV veneer that the whole network and all their programming is a wash in. But like that's like, it's real. It like pulls you in, like it sends shivers down your spine. Like this, you have this feeling like this is the world we live in.
Yeah, this is like Oppenheimer Blue Book. That's like, I don't even know Blue Book, but I feel you.
Bro,
the History Channel one was kind of disappointing.
Dude, because it was so inauthentic. They just like threw every UFO conspiracy out there, and it's like you don't need to do that. You don't need to invent stuff. I have a lot of problems with that show, and I think that's part of the reason why like I was like, yeah, I want to make my own, because I really don't like this one. You know, and I don't want to throw shade,
right? Tom DeLonge will say that has said the exact same thing as you, but then he put some Bigfoot peeing.
Dude,
on
don't even
movie.
I disavow.
I disavow Bigfoot peeing on people. All right, let's watch this. Ready? Boom.
No, this is not finished, by the way.
I spoke
just
to
so
Colonel
people know.
Okay, cool.
6. The object was white and metallic, about 1/4 the size of a full moon, and moved at a steady clip. He watched through binoculars and had an unobstructed view. They tracked it for over half an hour before Captain Mantell's
Wait,
unit
Red,
entered
can you
the
pause
area
it for one
to
sec?
intercept.
Can you actually play the one from YouTube?
Okay.
Yeah, because that's a little more. You'll see why. It's a little more put together.
Okay.
And like we get to really see like some of the angle and Max's work, like, you know, like cinematography at work.
Okay, here we go. This one, right? 137.
Yeah.
Cool.
About 1/4 the size of a full moon, moved at a steady clip. He watched through binoculars and had an unobstructed view. They tracked it for over half an hour before Captain Mantell's unit entered the area to intercept.
A-51s.
Yes, sir. 4 of them. But once it reached 15,000 feet, 3 of the pilots broke off due to oxygen concerns. Only Captain Mantell maintained pursuit. He reached over 25,000 feet before he lost radio contact and fell into a nosedive some minutes later.
Nothing in the wreckage to indicate he was shot down.
No, sir. No, they have no doubt he lost consciousness from a lack of oxygen. There was nothing that could be done.
How close did he manage?
Not close. Flight control said it was faster than anything they had ever seen.
Sons of bitches. How fast does Mustangs get?
430 knots, give or take.
They couldn't get close. Goddamn sons of bitches. What did Rand have to say about this?
Rand has assured me that they have no domestic project of any kind that fits the criteria.
I already know that. What do they think it is?
They say they have no idea.
What do you think it is?
I don't know, sir.
Nice. The other
Yeah,
guy
dude.
looks great in these. Oh wait, oops. Where? Oh.
Arms.
John Lear, that guy.
John Lear, no. Anyways, but no, that looked great. The cinematography was excellent, as you said. I was gonna say they both kind of like in a very cool way. They both kind of look like comic book characters, especially when you're getting the right profile shot of maybe we could see it in here. Maybe maybe that's one of the shots we were talking about. But still, even the bright profile shot of this guy looked really cool. I was like, oh, that reminds me of the comic book right there. And yeah, the typewriter from the trailer was sick, man. This is very, very cool. Anything you want to say more about this scene or filming it, or what it was like?
No, I mean, like, we're still editing it. I mean, it's good. It was a crew of like, 4 people, and like doing all the. It was like our first, like, we actually had auditions for the guy playing opposite John, and like honestly, like the morning of, I was like, I woke up and I'm like, I'm fucked. I have no idea what I'm doing, right? But we did so much prep work. Like, we storyboarded this in Unreal Engine, and like it was weird, like going there, like it was just like on autopilot. So like I'm directing, I'm also like doing like the set design. John's warming up, like he's getting ready to act, and like honestly, them warming up was just like shooting the shit about the Jets or something like that, because they're so good, right? They're talented like that. And like having Max on set too was like it was super cool, because he's seen this project annoyingly probably at work, like when I'm supposed to be working and I'm working on this, and now he's part of it, and it's like, dude. Like I'm proud that like I think we made something that is probably like one of the best pieces of like UFO narrative content, as short as it is. And we're still editing this. I'm doing the Mantell scene in Unreal Engine, and I'm hoping to get some help on it. But if not, like I'll pull through. And just something to show that like, dude, like this can work in any medium. You just have to do it right.
Yeah, and it's truly inspiring too. Like, let me see. Let me go to. Where are we at? Page 8 is what that, or 6? Here you go. To watch this progression, right? We started here, right?
Yeah.
Like, with this,
Yeah.
To where we are now, with like you're doing live action beautifully. I saw you too with your camera work when John was like nodding up and the camera goes real quick and goes down with him. That was sick, man. That was amazing. Yeah, and the typewriter sequence I do like, because people don't get it. Like editing, like you only notice it when it's like not like right, but it's like really like some drumline level like beats have to be hit, especially with when you're using music and conversations and flow, and you want to evoke this emotion at that point. A lot of stuff. I always say, even on my documentaries, right? Not even like having to direct actors and having to do music, but I always say it's like an 8D puzzle, having to like get the information flowing in a way that's like resonates, having the music go with it when you want to have the music drop, stuff like that. So. But
the best part is like it either works or it doesn't at the end. You know what I mean? Like it's like there's like a very like fundamental baseline. And like, dude, if I could spend money on anything at this point, right, it'd be for music, to actually have someone, because like stock music is so bad.
What are you using right now, by the way?
I'm using Epidemic Sound, Artlist. There's a couple of Patreons I'm subscribed to, and like they're good. Don't get me wrong, but like like. Overall, you want something tailored to the scene without any bass drops, something more that's like you know what I mean? There's a lot of bass drops in
get on the forefront of AI music, right? Tupa, haven't you done a bunch of AI?
I'm gonna start,
AI music with not even just like the fun AI songs, but like atmospheric stuff, and like I think
Oh yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing. It's because it's a huge part of production too, finding the right music. So being able to just produce like 10 songs in 10 minutes or less, you know what I mean? You have like a bunch of just a sound bed you can pick from, and you can advance those. Now you can get really granular in how you kind of edit them and whatnot. So yeah, it's the business.
Yeah, man. Did you have any thoughts on this last thing too? But you've been,
I love it.
Critic.
I love it. I think the what you guys are doing with the resources you have is huge, but to take the extra time to make sure like it looks convincing, I think is really good. And you got really lucky here with John.
Yeah,
Oh,
and
yeah.
John
He's
got
helping
lucky
you.
with you too. You guys, great team.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But I mean, he came in as a writer, right? Now he's acting in these things, and that like helps elevate these projects. And it means that like the guy who's involved with it, you're always going to have an actor on board, which is really good, right? Like it's great, great lighting. It's atmospheric. The tone's all there. The color correction's sick. You have to do a lot of color grading when you're shooting like black magics and even like reds and shit. So you guys, I don't know, the aesthetic is like there. Like I said, man, if you had a ton of these on a YouTube channel, I'd watch all of them, and I think I speak for a lot of people who would. They just keep watching it, and like you have the ability now with Unreal Engine to do cool shit with like the planes, the reenactments. So you can go from this scene to like a high speed, like a dog fighting scene, or like a.
That's exactly it. Yeah.
It's gonna be
That's
awesome.
the plan. It's like these things like still take a lot of resources, and like I'm hoping to scale up as we go along, and just like I don't know, I can't see myself not doing it, or at least continue to do this in some fashion, because like everybody on this panel, you know what I mean, like we all come back to UFO Twitter for a reason, right? Because we're obsessed with this topic in general, no matter how we feel about whatever case or other person. It's like the fundamental baseline is like UFOs, and I feel like, I don't know, blessed to be able to do this, but at the same time I'm like, damn man, everything's so expensive.
No,
like,
but
make it really look
we've
good.
talked about this too. We're in the sweet spot, man. I think we're all
Yeah.
sitting on a gold mine that eventually everyone's gonna be trying to tap into, and any kind of like
We're
you're
here
getting so
first.
far ahead. I think in my respective field, Tupa, especially with this AI stuff, Amy with their Good Morning show, right? Like we're doing a lot of this stuff first, and I think as this topic just continues to get more and more. I mean, I think all of us on the panel think there's something to the phenomena and whatnot.
Yeah.
So yeah, man. Very, very cool, man. Dude, I might have to learn
Thanks.
Unreal Engine, dude. Honestly.
It's not that, I mean, it's hard, but it's like it's accessible. It's accessible hard is what I'll say. And like it is free for now. I think they're gonna start doing paid stuff, but it's just just do
Yeah,
it.
and
There's
again-
so many YouTube tutorials on there.
Guys, go buy your loved ones that think you're crazy this for Christmas. Honestly, I can't think of a better UFO gift, or if you have honestly, that would actually go to something that is like other than advertising space on the timeline. But you know what I mean? You want to get something that's gonna like have a turnover and like continue to grow, you know what I mean? And I think this is just the perfect project for that. You know what I mean? And again, it's like it's not just like you could get a comic book, right? Like you get something you could hold, and like I don't know, it's cool. Very cool.
Dude, can I share something? Hold on, it's uploading now, but like I want to show you our film deck for estimate.
Okay.
Because I think it's like just the amount of work that goes into it. I was debating whether I show you guys my notes or the film deck, but I think the film deck like
So this
gives
one?
like a really good overview. Like, and I'll just like browse through because I don't want people.
Did you just dox your phone number? Should we just go to the next one real quick?
Oh well. I mean, I'm public facing anyway, dude. It's like if you want my phone number, it's out there.
Okay.
But just like the idea of like what a UFO movie should be like, or UFO
Yeah.
film or series should encompass, right? And so we start off with General Twining's quote, like, the phenomenon is not visionary or fictitious, something is really flying around, which was infamous from the Twining memo. I'm not sure he said that, but it was definitely in the Twining memo. And we go over like our project sign
Nice.
and what it does, but like,
So are these
finding
the
those-
AI?
No, this is all like screen grabs from films that I poured over and like tried to find the right ones, to tell the story, and like what it should feel like, and the paranoia surrounding these people, and again, the truth is stranger than fiction. And again, this is what we kind of see it as. Dude, Chernobyl is like, again, that should be the template for any UFO, anything. Like you mix any of these elements here, you know what I mean? You're gonna have a banger. But like very
historical
cerebral
films, Oppenheimer and Chernobyl for sure, like good vibes.
Yeah,
especially for
especially.
this topic. Yeah, that has military and spooky and woo and.
It's like,
cover-up
how has
and
no one
government.
done it before?
It's crazy that no one's done it. There's a few Dark Skies. I think kind of was cool for the 90s.
Yeah.
There's been a few things that are cool, but in this time period, no. Yeah.
And just like, again, like, like you want to, like the UFOs are there,
Yeah.
but they're not really there, so just like stuff like that, and like our the cast that we would want, for the
Nice.
people, but like we really put a lot of thought into this series, you know, and like into like what we want it to look like. And I hope that like, you know, it resonates with people because like it's something that we want to watch. It's not something that like we're trying to force down people's throat. It's like, no, we want to see this on TV or we want to read about this. And honestly, like there's like a Trojan horse aspect to all of this. Like my, you know, what I really am doing is like I want to onboard as many people to this topic as I can. You show them like some sort of like 1950s cheesy-esque like whatever, it turns people off. Look, say what you want about Tom DeLonge, but like I can't show that film to like friends of mine and be like, take UFOs seriously. Like I can't. It's more, that's like more insider stuff, right? They have like all these hints in there for us that are in the community. But like if you, depending, well, contestable, right? But like,
I'm still proud of him for doing it, right? I'm sure you are too, right? To have the vision and the execution, but it's like, damn, I can't show a Bigfoot peeing on a dude.
Yeah, you know, I mean, it's the logistics of getting a movie done, period. Like, you know what I mean? Like what he did, that's wild, right? That's obviously like none of us are there yet. But like, as far as like bringing people into the topic, maybe you can, but I feel like it should be a little bit more accessible than what it was, is ultimately like my gripe about it, right? In a lot of different ways. So like, if I can just onboard as many people, then we have so many different people looking at this, voicing their opinion about this topic. And like, I don't know, maybe they find something out that like somebody wouldn't have found out, right? But because they saw a movie or read something or whatever, they're in it now. And hopefully that's how you build momentum. That's how you get a movement going. And that's how you get to the bottom of this mystery, I think, you know? So that's my spiel.
Hell yeah, man. Bro, thank you for coming. It was really amazing. I feel like, and I feel like this is kind of going to be the format for my like interview shows. It's going to be like, just kind of like seeing the progression over time. And it was really amazing, like I said, to go from that storyboard to like this now. You're doing live action stuff, the animation, you all tell yourself, very inspiring. I hope people, one, obviously support you, and I hope other people maybe watching this are inspired to create their own thing, right? Like a few years ago.
That would be awesome.
A few years ago, this all would have seemed so far out of reach, right? A comic book, an anime, and the live action thing. But look at, you're doing it, and you still have a normal job. You're finding the time. It's amazing, bro. It really is.
Dude, so but that like, yeah, the other side of the coin is, what the hell are these studios doing with all this money? You know, with the stuff they're putting out. It's like, are you kidding me, dude? It's not that hard. What's the recent big
flop that was like? I think Dan Farah had
the Joker,
flop, right? Oh, the Joker too, right? Yeah.
I you know, and it's like, and people like are focused now on like they're selling messages in films when it shouldn't be like that. You tell the story, and whatever the message that comes across. People will relate to it one way or another. But if you jam it down people's throats, or I don't know. I'm very disillusioned with the current state of Hollywood. You know, so.
Yeah, no, I feel that. Well, anyone on the panel want to say anything else before we wrap up here? 2.5 hours, going strong.
Good shit, man. Can't wait till the next stuff starts coming out. Hollywood is bloated and wasteful, and we need more independent projects out here for sure.
Hell yeah. Thank you, Tupa.
Yep. Ditto what Tupa said. I mean, it's just amazing work. Keep going. Don't stop. It's beautiful.
It's amazing. It's amazing. Non-cred?
I mean, he shouldn't stop at least until he's like canonized like all of ufology like in this format.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, I feel like you want to do a Doty one, huh? I feel like you got to do a little Doty live action.
Can I show something?
Please do.
Give me a second. Let me. How do I? Oh, let me remove the deck from the studio. And give me 1 second. Yeah. So it's uploading, but yeah. And the other thing too is like, okay, so I've noticed that I feel like I put out good work, but like people on this panel, like pretty much everybody except non-cred does. Kidding. But like, it's hard to get noticed, I feel like, and it's like, there's this sort of kind of like, well, what do I need to do? And like John and I have a theory that people are like kind of more interested in insider information sometimes, at least in our community, which is fine. It is what it is.
I think it goes the other way too, where I think there's, and I think you'll even agree with this, Tuva will definitely agree with this, Amy, I think everyone will, there's an element of control the narrative going on here, and I think people are wary to bring in people that they don't think that they can fully control. And I think we see this with Vetted, the way Vetted's been treated by freaking Lou Elizondo's little fan club here, and Lou Elizondo's publishing manager. And I think you've shown them that you're not one of these like pushover, like, let me just give you my project, and you know what I mean? Like,
no, we have had talks with a couple of people not from that camp specifically, but like the people that are interested in working with us, and like I just chose to like not align myself with anybody. I wanted to do my own thing. You know, again, I didn't want anybody telling me what's in it, what's not in it, and just kind of like let the work speak for itself. And I think ultimately that's the best thing you can do is let your work speak for yourself, and hopefully that's gonna be the message carried across. And so, all right, this deck is very preliminary. This is an idea that we're working on. Birds of a Feather it's about the Benowitz and Doty case, right? So like it's all about, and we have this, you know, ideally Joaquin Phoenix playing Bill Moore, this UFO researcher trying to, you know, gets roped into this, you know, one way or another. But like these are like, you know, this is constantly what's on my mind. There's so much material there that like you can use to like really make thought-provoking stuff. And I just wanted to show this, like, because it's one of those like pet projects that like hopefully one day maybe, you know.
Yeah, no, I think, and you're obviously very passionate about the whole Doty stuff. And,
yeah.
Yeah, man. Well, I guess with that, I think that's about it. Maybe we'll all go see each other in a space. But this was really fun, Tom. I hope you get at least a few people from my audience get a comic book at the very least. At the very best, who knows? Maybe what's that one guy's name? That director who shouted me out on Weaponized sees this, Ernie Klein or whatever sees it and is like, oh, we gotta get in touch with this guy.
Hopefully, give him money. He'll do the rest, man.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, basically. Yeah, no, it's great, man, dude. Honestly, and like speaking to what I was saying earlier, like you're one of the only people that's like, you know, brought me on the show to go through the progression of everything. And like I've been on other shows, you know, like I've been on Dan Zetterstrom's show, awesome. I've been on Alien Girl's show. I've been on Cambian's show, you know. But I feel like there's a small group of people, and like Cambian, I know is like controversial, but like I figure like, hey man, like if people are watching it, they see it, they maybe get a graphic novel. Maybe their opinion might change a little bit on UFOs. It might be on board one of the skeptics. Who knows? But it's like this small group of people that like I'm really thankful for, because, you know, otherwise no one would know what we're doing or why. Yeah, and I appreciate everybody.
People are sleeping on you, bro. Everyone should have like, and especially because you're preparing the show, and people remember this from Scaffer, and he's like, "You have it all laid out here for us. You filmed your thing. You did the thing. You did the behind the scenes. Like, there's so much stuff to go through with it. No one's like done like something like this yet. But this is gonna be my format with a lot of my interviews that I think will be kind of fun and cool, like reacting to people's lives together. But yeah, man.
When's your Spielberg stuff coming out?
Hopefully, like in a week or so. Okay. This was the last stream I like wanted to get done before like I just don't do a stream until it comes out. And yes, to my audience, I'm still making documentaries, but I'm just activated now. You guys, I took a year off. I had to get a temperature check of the what's going on in this community. And now we're about to take over. So that's that. Yes, the Spielberg doc, an hour and a half long. It's kind of hard because it's part historical documentary, and then like the last quarter is a film review with like Easter eggs, right? So it's like two different styles of movie or video combined into one. But
I can't wait, dude.
It's gonna be fun,
dude. I can't. Your documentaries are actually like what like got me back into this. Like, I don't want to say full time, but like, man, like going through them, like the earlier stuff, I was like, shit, like this is so interesting. Like it's great that like everybody here is like putting out stuff. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like the more the better.
Yeah, thank you, man. That was cool, man. And honestly, who knows? Maybe I'll learn Unreal Engine and I'll help you with some of this stuff. Who knows? Maybe.
Hell yeah.
But yeah. All right, guys, I'm gonna close it out then. Great stuff, everyone. Thank you to the panel for being here. I'm gonna put all everyone's links in. Definitely buy a comic book. Definitely subscribe to Alien Girl and Tupa and follow Noncred on X. Yeah. Love you guys. Peace.
Great stream, man.
Thank you.
Peace. Boom.